Chapter 128. The middle-aged man brought the selected candidates into the outer sect. Everything in the sect amazed the young boys and girls who just entered the sect. However, they were all very smart to suppress their emotions and listen to the middle-aged man's orders detailedly. The outer sect disciples stayed at the same location with 3 people in a room, males and females separated. Yi Qingtang was assigned to a room. Apart from her, Su Wan, who entered as the same batch as her, was assigned to that room as well. In the room, other than the 2 new disciples, there was another person. The moment she opened the door and entered the room, Yi Qingtang saw an aloof figure sitting at a table alone. Even when she and Su Wan entered the room, that girl had not looked up at all. Su Wan greets senior sister. The gentle Su Wan was very sensible and stepped forward to greet the girl obediently when she saw the girl sitting there. That girl was tall and had sharp features but exuded detachment and indifference. When she heard Su Wan's voice, she merely took a look perfunctorily without replying a single word. Su Wan's expression turned a little ugly, but she smartly did not show anything on her face. She walked to an empty bed at a side and unpacked her luggage a little. Yi Qingtang's gaze swept over that aloof girl, but a yearning expression emerged in her eyes. In her previous life, she was also allocated into this room, and there was not a change in the people in the room. Su Wan was still Su Wan, and this aloof girl still remained there. She was Lin Long. She had a green spirit root and was pretty talented. However, she was usually very silent and did not bother others at all. That time, Yi Qingtang stayed in this room for many years and only heard Lin Long say a few words in total. Yi Qingtang originally did not have anything to do with Lin Long, but because Lin Long once stepped up to resolve Yi Qingtang's predicament, Yi Qingtang remembered this favor. Yi Qingtang greets senior sister Lin. Yi Qingtang stepped forward slowly and said with gratitude. A word senior sister Lin made Lin Long, who was looking down, look up slightly at the stunning-looking girl in front of her. How do you know my name? Lin Long's cold voice rang. There is a Lin sewed on senior sister Lin's sleeve, so I took a bold guess. Yi Qingtang smiled. Lin Long looked down at the barely legible Lin word on the bamboo leaves image sewed on her sleeves. Her eyes glistened as she raised her head and took a look at Yi Qingtang, though her expression remained the same. Yi Qingtang? Remember. Afterward, she continued looking at the book in her hand without wanting to say any more. Yi Qingtang had been used to Lin Long's aloofness long ago and did not think much about it as she went to settle her own matters. The rooms of Xianling sect's disciples were relatively wide. Even if there were 3 people in a room, each person had their own individual space, and it did not seem crowded. Yi Qingtang laid her bedsheets and sat by her bed, carrying the little lightning dragon which had been nested in her arms for a long time. The little figure seemed a little tired and laid in Yi Qingtang's arms listlessly with its tiny head in Yi Qingtang's palm. Yi Qingtang realized that once the little lightning dragon turned into human form, it would become unusually frail. It was also the first time Yi Qingtang raised a lightning dragon, and she really could not understand what was going on with it. Luckily, it did not have any other special reaction apart from being tired. Only then was she put at ease. After feeding the little lightning dragon a few spirit stones, Yi Qingtang started thinking about how to walk down the route in the sect. Chapter 129. In her previous life, it was hard for Yi Qingtang to train in the sect. Even if she feigned a spirit root, she still did not have a spirit root in reality. Hence, it was especially difficult for her when she was cultivating in the sect. For a cultivation technique that others would be able to learn in a day or 2, she would require over 10 times the duration only to be able to barely compete with others. Precisely because her cultivation was slow, she seemed exceptionally clumsy amongst all the disciples and suffered quite a lot. But this time, everything was different. The black heaven water that Yi Qingtang required was within the sect's mystic realm. Yi Qingtang knew of it quite late back then, and that item had already been obtained by an inner sect disciple. This time, she came at just the right time, and she would have to enter the inner sect as soon as possible if she wanted to obtain the black heaven water. And only by entering the inner sect would she obtain the sect's highest level martial techniques. The outer sect was just a step of hers. She must think of a way to pass the inner sect assessment within a year, Otherwise, she would have no fate with the Black Heaven water. It would be even more difficult for her to recover from the loss of her spirit root and grow her new spirit root. At the thought of this, Yi Qingtang was very motivated and had a clearer image of what she had to do next. After a short rest, the newly entered disciples had to gather outside to listen to allocations. While Yi Qingtang just started preparing to leave, Su Wan had already left ahead of her. Obviously, although Su Wan was not welcomed by Lin Long, she did not intend to interact with Yi Qingtang. To this, Yi Qingtang was not bothered at all. At the public square in the outer sect, all the newly entered disciples were gathered. Yi Qingtang arrived a little later. Upon seeing Yi Qingtang, Yun Shu, who had already changed into Xianling sect's uniform and was standing at the public square, could not help but show a gentle smile. "Junior sister Yi, you're the only one left. Hurry up." Yi Qingtang chuckled and stood beside Yun Shu immediately. The middle-aged man who was in charge of the assessment had left, and the person standing before Yi Qingtang and the rest was an outer sect elder. Sects are divided into the inner sect and outer sect, with the disciples in the former being in a respectable place that outer sect disciples could not be compared to. Thus, the elders in charge of the outer sect were Xianling sect's second-class elders. One would not have any fate to meet the real elders from the four factions if they did not enter the inner sect. The elder standing in front of them was donned in gray, and his both hands were behind his back. He looked over 50 years old and had a strict expression. Looking over the crowd, he frowned slightly when he saw Yi Qingtang, but did not say anything much. He simply said to the group of new disciples, "After entering Xianling sect today, you all are no longer the same as those people outside. You must remember that you are a disciple of Xianling sect, and regardless of what you do, the sect's honor must be placed as a priority. From today onwards, you will enter the outer sect's sword faction to cultivate your swordsmanship. You are to listen to all the arrangements by the sect. If there's anyone who dares to go against the sect's rules, the person will be expelled from the sect and never be allowed in ever again." Yi Qingtang did not know whether it was real or not, but she kept feeling that the outer sect elders seemed to be looking at her when he mentioned the sect's honor. She touched the tip of her nose. It seemed that all the elders already knew that she passed the assessment with a red spirit root. Indeed, in sects where orange spirit roots were already very rare, her only red spirit root was already unusually eye-catching. Chapter 130. Despite the fact that Yi Qingtang passed the 3 segments of the entrance assessment with flying colors, her red spirit root was still ultimately displeasing to all elders. Very obviously, the elder from the outer sect's sword faction did not think highly of Yi Qingtang, who had a red spirit root. Even if the elder did not show any extreme behavior, the casual look on his face already revealed his despise and belittlement. Yi Qingtang had already expected this, as she experienced the same thing in her previous life as well. However, having a red spirit root today did not mean she would have a red spirit root her entire life. After admonishing the new disciples for a while, the elder from the outer sect sword faction informed them of the rules in the sect. The sect would assign certain missions for disciples apart from cultivation. Upon completion of the missions, the disciples would obtain Xianming points from the sect. These Xianming points had a special meaning in the sect. Not only could the disciples use the points to exchange for elixirs and martial technique scrolls, but it could also be used to exchange for the right to use the Holy Land for cultivation. It could be said that the Xianming points were equal to another type of currency within the sect. It could bring even more opportunities for cultivation and benefits for all disciples. Other than the assigned missions, one could also obtain the Xianming points by heading to the rewards pavilion and completing any mission of their choice where points were rewarded correspondingly. After he was done announcing the rules of the outer sect, the elder from the outer sect's sword faction nodded at a disciple behind him. That disciple went forward immediately. In his hands was a tray with dozens of small porcelain bottles placed in it. Yi Qingtang's eyes shone when she saw the porcelain bottles. At the same time, the elder said once again, "This is the Shi Spirit Pill. In the future, everyone will be given 2 bottles of the Shi Spirit Pill every month." Looks of happiness could be seen in the new disciples' eyes when they heard the elder's words. The she spirit pill was a rather rare elixir which was extremely helpful for their cultivation. However, outside the sect, even royals had difficulty buying such an elixir. These kinds of elixirs could only be refined in sects, and the prescriptions were held in the hands of the herbal faction's elders without circulating it outside. If brought outside the sect, such a she spirit pill would still be in short supply even if it were to be sold for over thousands per pill. Yet, in the sect, this was given to disciples monthly. 2 bottles of she spirit pill were enough for the new disciples to feel the distance between the sect and the outside world, and this was merely the most basic thing. Those she spirit pills were quickly placed into the hands of the new disciples, and almost everyone held it exceptionally carefully. Even for disciples from prominent backgrounds such as Lu Xiuwen and Yun Shu, they could not help but wear a happy expression when they saw the she spirit pills. This was an item that normal people were unable to obtain. Yi Qingtang's lips tugged up as she looked at the she spirit pill. This item was really a good thing. The she spirit pills could help her in her cultivation and even nourish her newly grown spirit root. The she spirit pill had a strong spirit energy, and what her spirit root needed to grow was none other than spirit energy. After handing out the she spirit pills, the elder left straight away without saying much. In the outer sect, the elder would not teach the disciples martial arts directly. If they wanted to cultivate, they had to go to the sword faction pavilion and listen to the lessons by the elders of the outer sect. Just when everyone was excited over obtaining the she spirit pills, they did not notice a few devious pairs of eyes staring at the she spirit pills in their hands. Chapter 131. Everyone was in high spirits after receiving the she spirit pills and wanted to use the pills to further improve themselves in their cultivation. Just when the new disciples were preparing to leave, a bustling noise suddenly came from the side of the public square. A group of outer sect disciples were gathered together and having a jolly time. That lively scene attracted the group of disciples who just entered the outer sect of Xianling sect, and many headed in that direction out of curiosity. In the crowd, there was a 10-square-meter empty space in the center of the crowd, where a tall outer sect disciple stood imposingly. From the surrounding people's discussions, the new disciples finally understood what was going on. The person standing in the middle of the crowd was called Zhou Chu. He had been in the outer sect for 2 to 3 years, and although his skills were not top-notch, he was ranked in the top 1,000 people amongst over 3,000 people in the outer sect. Now, Zhou Chu was standing there to set up an arena. Malicious fighting was completely banned in sects. Infighting amongst disciples in the same sect was all the more disallowed. Otherwise, they would receive extremely strict punishments. The arena was the only place where disciples could exchange blows with each other openly, though it was to be of a suitable degree and could not be overly extreme. The way Zhou Chu started an arena was very interesting. He challenged the outer sect disciples ranked in the last 2,000 places, and both parties would bet with she spirit pills where the winning party could obtain the pills. Everyone was aware of how precious the she spirit pills were, and once the new disciples heard that the arena actually used the she spirit pills as a bet, they were instantly interested. However, they were not fools. No matter what, Zhou Chu had been a disciple in the sect for 2 to 3 years, and there was no comparability between them, the newly joined disciples, and him. We don't have much to do with this arena. How can we possibly beat senior brother Zhou? A new disciple sighed rather disappointingly. Although there was the she spirit pill as bait, they were still self-aware. That new disciple's lament traveled into Zhou Chu's ears, and Zhou Chu laughed. This junior brother over here, I'm afraid you're mistaken. I don't require you to beat me on this arena. As long as you all can withstand 3 of my moves, I will gift you all a bottle of she spirit pill. If you can withstand 6 moves, I will gift you 2 bottles. With these words, those new disciples who previously dropped the idea suddenly had a glimmer of hope. If they really had to fight with Zhou Chu, they would definitely not be able to win. However, if they only had to receive his 3 moves, why not give it a try? Many thoughts ran across everyone's mind. She spirit pills were precious, and although they obtained 2 bottles, it was definitely a case of the more the better. Immediately, the group of new disciples was a little swayed. Their reactions fell into Zhou Chu's eyes, and a cold scoff emerged in his eyes. Upon seeing the excited expression of the junior brothers and sisters, the old outer sect disciples from aside could not help but quietly shake their heads. Someone might just be baited again. Yi Qingtang and Yun Shu were about to leave but were attracted over by the noise. A sneer hung on the corner of Yi Qingtang's lips when she saw Zhou Chu's face. Rather, it was Yun Shu who was interested in the arena. You can obtain a bottle of She Spirit Pill as long as you receive 3 moves? This arena is pretty interesting, Yun Shu chuckled. Chapter 132, Pretty interesting? Yi Qingtang scoffed in her heart. This Zhou Chu was an acquaintance of hers in her previous life. Zhou Chu's ability was slightly above average in the outer sect and was not considered outstanding, but the arena he set up was a nightmare for plenty of new disciples. Zhou Chu's arena appeared to be targeted against all the disciples ranked below him and seemed easy since one would win only by receiving 3 moves from him. But only those who went up the arena would know how fierce these 3 moves were. Zhou Chu specialized in fist techniques, and the force from his one punch was enough to crumble a boulder. Unless one was made from steel, which disciple would dare to take his 3 moves? The old outer sect disciples already knew Zhou Chu's trap from long ago and would naturally not be fooled. This arena by Zhou Chu was used to cajole new disciples. The new disciples had just obtained the She Spirit Pills, and with Zhou Chu opening an arena here thereafter, wasn't he simply waiting for them to suffer from their own actions? In Yi Qingtang's previous life, she saw many newly entered disciples being beaten up by Zhou Chu until they spat blood because of their greed. On the other hand, Zhou Chu used this to obtain a fair amount of She Spirit Pills from the new disciples. If not for the support of those She Spirit Pills, how was he able to climb up to the first 1,000 ranks? Yi Qingtang looked at the same trick that Zhou Chu had used in both her previous and current life and fell into a trance. She was also duped in her previous life and ended up spitting blood from being beaten by Zhou Chu, while the She Spirit Pills that were just handed to her were also snatched away by Zhou Chu. Senior brother Yun wants to give it a try? Yi Qingtang returned to her senses and turned to ask Yun Shu. Yun Shu was slightly taken aback and chuckled, I'm a little interested, but I'll take a look for the time being. Just as Yun Shu was hesitating, a person went up the arena a step ahead of him. Looking up, Yi Qingtang sneered in her heart. The first person who went up the arena was not anyone else but Lu Xiuwen. I just need to receive 3 moves from you, and I can obtain a bottle of She Spirit Pill? Lu Xiuwen stood on the arena arrogantly. After looking at Lu Xiuwen, Zhou Chu flashed a friendly smile. That's right. I wonder what's this junior brother's name? Lu Xiuwen replied. Lu Xiuwen. Zhou Chu's face froze slightly. The purpose of setting up this arena was to trick those new disciples who did not know what was going on into losing the She Spirit Pills to him. However, he was not foolish as well. He had already asked around when the new disciples entered the sect. In this batch, there were 2 people with green spirit roots who were relatively skilled and born in renowned families. He did not expect that the first to go up the stage was actually Lu Xiuwen. So it's junior brother Lu. I've long heard that you have amazing natural endowments, and now that I see you, it's indeed so. There's no need to continue this competition, Zhou Chu said smoothly and immediately handed a bottle of She Spirit Pill into Lu Ziyuan's hands. Treat this bottle of She Spirit Pill as a first meeting gift from me to Lu Junior Brother. In the future, we will be martial brothers from the same sect. Zhou Chu was smart. Lu Xiuwen was pretty skilled and also a formidable Heaven's Royals. Establishing good relations with such a person was obviously the best choice. Seeing the She Spirit Pill being handed to him, Lu Xiuwen did not say anything much and left the arena straight away. This sight made the other new disciples even more excited. I'll do it. A new disciple hurriedly went up the arena as though he was deeply afraid that Zhou Chu would lose all the She Spirit Pills to others who went before him and not have any left to give him. Zhou Chu asked the other party's background as usual, but this time, he was not as amiable as he was to Lu Xiuwen previously and directly started a match. Chapter 133. The new disciple also knew that he was definitely not Zhou Chu's opponent, but based on the fact that his own physique was not bad, he thought that no matter how poorly skilled he was, he would not be knocked out from 3 blows. Even if he were to sustain some injuries, he would still be able to forcefully hold out. This thought came across the minds of many new disciples. Logically, there was nothing wrong with this thought. Unless there was an extremely huge disparity between the two parties, it was almost impossible for one to knock out the other party in 3 moves. If Zhou Chu were an inner sect disciple, no one would dare to receive his punches, but since he was also in the outer sect, they believed that there was not too big of a gap in their abilities. Expectantly, the new disciple directed his energy and stood still as he waited to receive the 3 moves and take the Shi Spirit pill. Zhou Chu looked full of smiles, but in reality, a force already gathered in his hands. He suddenly attacked, greeting the new disciple with his fist. Since the new disciple was to receive the attack, he could also strike a move to handle the attack as long as he could receive the next move. When the two of them exchanged blows, Zhou Chu landed a heavy punch straight on the other party's face, and that disciple immediately raised a hand to block the attack, receiving the first move. Although it was rather strenuous, joy riled up in the new disciple's heart. Indeed, receiving a few of Zhou Chu's moves was not tough. While the force of Zhou Chu's punch was very huge, he was not cunning in his attacks, so there should not be a problem in forcefully receiving the attacks. A while later, Zhou Chu struck a second move, and this was also safely received by the new disciple. The continuous 2 moves fell into the eyes of the onlookers. After seeing that Zhou Chu's moves were neither swift nor fierce, the new disciples who were still hesitant immediately let down their guard and clenched their fists in preparation to give it a try. Seeing the new disciples letting down their guards, Yi Qingtang silently shook her head from the side. Zhou Chu's trick was really effective. In the 3 moves, the most crucial one was the 3rd move. Zhou Chu struck and landed his 3rd move, which appeared exactly the same as the previous moves with the same speed that one could easily withstand. However, just when that new disciple raised his hand to receive the move and met Zhou Chu's fist, he could only feel a violent force like that of a fierce tiger running downhill, penetrating from the fist into his entire body. That force was extremely huge and was simply not what he could bear. Before he could return to his senses, his entire body was flung out from the huge force. Everyone thought that Zhou Chu's 3 moves were rather easy to receive, and no one would have thought that the new disciple would suddenly miss at the last move. With the disciple losing at the 3rd move, the fight was naturally over. That disciple held on his painful chest and looked up at Zhou Chu, who was fake smiling. Only he would know that the ordinary-looking 3rd move was utterly different from the 2 moves exchanged previously. Many new disciples around him still found it a pity, as they felt that he was so close to winning a bottle of Shi Spirit pill. Now, not only did that new disciple not win the Shi Spirit pill, he lost Shi Spirit pill that he just obtained to Zhou Chu. It's really a pity, junior brother. Just a little more, and you could have received the 3rd move. Zhou Chu purposely sighed regrettably with an evil glint in his eyes as he held the Shi Spirit pill he obtained. Amongst these new disciples, how many could withstand 1 punch from him? If he didn't go easy first, how else could he let this group of little bastards bear hope and come forward to gift him the Shi Spirit pills one by one? Chapter 134. If Zhou Chu used all his force from the start, definitely no one would dare to go up. But with such a cover-up, the disciples would immediately think that they have a chance of winning. To catch a big fish, one must cast a long line. Zhou Chu was really skillful in using this strategy. Moreover, the new disciples were not old. 15, 16-year-olds were very easy to be duped. As expected, when the first new disciple lost a bottle of Shi Spirit pill, a few other new disciples went up successively. Those new disciples, without exception, did not have any energy to block Zhou Chu's 3rd move. 1 or 2 times was a coincidence, but if so many people lost at the 3rd move, it would be really dumb of those new disciples if they still did not realize anything fishy. In just a short while, Zhou Chu collected 5 to 6 bottles of Shi Spirit pills. Subtracting the bottle he gave to Lu Xiuwen, he still gained quite a lot. Seeing as to how the remaining new disciples began to be more vigilant, Zhou Chu knew that no one else in this new batch would be fooled anymore. This senior brother Zhou is misbehaving. Yun Shu, who had already seen Zhou Chu's scheme, could not help but frown and feel unhappy. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes and looked at the dejected look of the disciples who lost their she spirit pills as though she saw herself in her previous life. Having 2 bottles of she spirit pills every month already was not ample enough. Now that 1 bottle was snatched away when they just received it, the remaining 1 bottle was simply not enough to support their consumption for a month. With such dissipation, the new disciples would definitely suffer a loss in their cultivation. Yi Qingtang suddenly turned around and replied to Yun Shu, "Senior brother Yun, let's play around, should we?" Yun Shu was slightly taken aback and did not know what Yi Qingtang's words meant. Yi Qingtang quietly said a few words by Yun Shu's ears, and Yun Shu could not help but widen his eyes. On the arena, Zhou Chu waited for a while, and after realizing that no fishes were going to be baited anymore, he then prepared to stop. But just when Zhou Chu was about to leave, a small figure suddenly stepped up the arena. "Senior brother Zhou, can I give this a try?" A girl's voice, which had a slight hint of laughter, reverberated on the arena. Everyone's eyes were instantly fixed on the tiny figure on the arena. Zhou Chu paused in his tracks. Turning around, he saw a skinny, beautiful girl walking up the arena and was stunned. "How do I address you, junior sister?" Zhou Chu asked carefully. The new disciples had already clearly seen his scheme. How could there be such a foolish person to come knocking on his door? "I am Yi Qingtang," Yi Qingtang said with a smile. The caution in Zhou Chu's eyes vanished into thin air once Yi Qingtang said her name, and a scornful expression instantly appeared in his eyes. There was already a rumor that a girl with a red spirit root was selected amongst this batch of new disciples. This was a casual joke amongst them, and Zhou Chu would never have thought that the last to go up the arena would actually be the girl with an inferior red spirit root. He had seen people who courted death, but he had never seen someone who really wanted to court death. Those new disciples with yellow spirit roots were not even his opponent, yet this girl still wanted to challenge him? When Lu Xiuwen, who was already ready to leave, saw Yi Qingtang going up the stage, he returned immediately and looked at her as though he was ready to watch a good show. Those new disciples were taken aback for a moment as well because of Yi Qingtang's appearance. Everyone felt that Yi Qingtang was definitely crazy. Otherwise, how would a girl with such a small red spirit root dare to enter the arena? Chapter 135. Oh? Does junior sister Yi wants to give it a try? How do you want to compete? Zhou Chu would naturally not let go of such a fat sheep. There was already no one going up the arena, and Yi Qingtang was the last person that he could trick. Of course, he had to properly greet her. Yi Qingtang calmly looked at the greed in Zhou Chu's eyes, and her lips curled up. "Just now, senior brother Zhou said that I would win a bottle of she spirit pills as long as I receive 3 moves. I think this bet seems pretty little. How about we bet on 4 bottles? Yi Qingtang said with a smile. Once her words were said, everyone around here was instantly dumbfounded. Is Yi Qingtang crazy? She actually wants to bet on 4 bottles of she spirit pills with senior brother Zhou? Where would she get 4 bottles from? Those new disciples who went up the arena previously were extremely shocked when they saw Yi Qingtang's crazy act and only felt that Yi Qingtang had nothing better to do and was sending herself to death's door. However, there were also some bad-meaning disciples who lost their she spirit pills who hoped that someone would be worse than them since they lost a bottle of she spirit pill and were going to fall behind others in their cultivation. It so happened that Yi Qingtang's suggestion fulfilled their requirements. Similarly, Zhou Chu did not expect that the fat sheep that foolishly delivered herself to him would be so self-aware. He initially thought that he would end things by cheating 1 bottle. Who would have thought? Yi Qingtang actually came over to increase the bet, and this really made him happy. Junior sister Yi, don't say I'm bullying you. I can agree to your request, but I want to ask something. You, a new disciple, just entered the sect and received 2 bottles of she spirit pills in total. If you want to compete with me, you should show some sincerity, right? Yi Qingtang chuckled and immediately took out 4 bottles of she spirit pills from her arms. Once he saw those 4 bottles, Zhou Chu's eyes almost popped out. This girl really had 4 bottles. From a side, Yun Shu did not know whether to laugh or cry at Yi Qingtang's crazy act. Amongst the 4 bottles of she spirit pills in her hands, 2 of them were his. When Yi Qingtang asked him for his she spirit pills just now, Yun Shu was still a little hesitant. However, when he saw the girl's sincere look, Yun Shu could not bear to reject her. He already mentally prepared himself and treated it as going crazy with Yi Qingtang for once, so be it if she lost them all. While she spirit pills were precious, Yun Shu had a peaceful nature and was not too concerned. Everyone was quite surprised that Yi Qingtang could obtain 4 bottles of she spirit pills and were all curious where she got 2 additional bottles from. Only Lu Xiaowen frowned slightly as his gaze landed on Yun Shu, who was smiling bitterly from his side. Seeing Yun Shu's behavior, Lu Xiaowen already knew the background of the other 2 bottles and could not help but scoff in his heart. To think that he still thought of Yun Shu as his only competitor in the batch. Who would have thought that Yun Shu would be this foolish to give his she spirit pills to Yi Qingtang to play around with? Yet, coming to think of it, Lu Xiaowen was satisfied. His abilities were comparable to Yun Shu's. If he could pull a gap between them the moment he entered the sect, it would naturally be the best. He had the confidence that he could leave Yun Shu behind with the advantage of these 2 bottles of she spirit pills. No one at the scene felt that Yi Qingtang was able to win. The new disciples were watching the good show while the old disciples quietly sighed. Lin Long walked past the arena, and while she did not intend to pay attention to it initially, she stopped in her tracks when she saw the tiny frame in the corner of her eyes. Chapter 136. It's her? Lin Long's looked over the arena, and an unhappy expression emerged in her eyes when she saw Zhou Chu. She had heard some things about this arena as well, but she did not expect that Yi Qingtang, who appeared very calm, would actually look for trouble like others. Instinctively, she stood aside and watched on quietly. After confirming that Yi Qingtang had 4 bottles of she spirit pills, Zhou Chu almost struck immediately without warming up. The 4 additional bottles now would cover the quota given to them in 2 months. Sure. Since junior sister Yi is so sincere, I will accept it as your senior brother. After 3 moves, my 4 bottles of she spirit pills will be all yours if you can receive my moves, Zhou Chu said as he purposely feigned generosity and placed 4 bottles of she spirit pills aside. However, he was very clear that Yi Qingtang definitely did not have the ability to take away these 4 bottles and would have to give him 4 bottles instead. He was not afraid of Yi Qingtang going back on her words. Anyone in the arena in the sect must follow rules, and if anyone went back on their words, they would be punished once the news traveled into the warden's ears. Please take care of me, senior brother. Yi Qingtang cupped one hand in another, and she lowered her eyes as a sly look flashed across in her eyes. Zhou Chu nodded aloofly and focused on his breathing. This time, he did not intend to play the same trick and go easy on the first 2 moves. Anyway, no one would go up the arena after Yi Qingtang, and he obviously wanted to finish her as quickly as possible. Below the arena, an ominous feeling rose up within Yun Shu as he looked at Zhou Chu directing his energy. The method Zhou Chu used to direct his energy was extremely similar to the one he used in the 3rd method previously. Could it be that he wanted to finish Yi Qingtang in the first move? Yun Shu could not help but frown. Brother Yun, I'm afraid you'll be in deep waters because of Yi Qingtang? Lu Ziyuan's voice rang beside Yun Shu's ears. Yun Shu looked over and saw that Lu Xiaowen actually came to his side since some time ago. Yi Qingtang has another 2 bottles of she spirit pills in her hands. Those should be yours, right? I know that Brother Yun is kind by nature, but there are some things that shouldn't be compromised so easily like this. You should have seen the outcome of all the other junior and senior brothers previously. How would Yi Qingtang be able to withstand 3 moves from senior brother Zhou? Yun Shu merely looked at him coldly without saying anything. Lu Xiaowen was not too bothered. He merely wanted to watch the 2 of them embarrass themselves in front of him. On the arena, Zhou Chu had already gathered his force in his fists. With a sudden loud roar and a quick jump, he dashed for Yi Qingtang directly. Yi Qingtang remained rooted to the ground calmly as though she did not see Zhou Chu's incoming powerful punch. Everyone below the arena was already trembling in fear at the sight. Seeing how Yi Qingtang stood still without any intention to receive the move, they thought that Yi Qingtang was really seeking death and would be knocked out by Zhou Chu without even withstanding 1 move. However, just when Zhou Chu's punch was about to land on Yi Qingtang's face, Yi Qingtang suddenly bent down. The timing when she bent down was too ingenious. When Zhou Chu threw an extremely powerful punch, her small movement caused Zhou Chu to end up punching the air without warning. Zhou Chu was indeed a little dumbfounded when he punched the air. He clearly saw Yi Qingtang remaining still as though she was too stunned to move. How was it that this girl suddenly bent down and avoided his punch the moment he attacked? Chapter 137. Zhou Chu turned to look at Yi Qingtang and saw that she actually picked up a light, square handkerchief from the ground. I didn't notice that this handkerchief fell on the ground just now, Yi Qingtang said as she picked up the handkerchief and straightened herself smilingly. In that moment, everyone was muddled. The moment Zhou Chu threw out a punch, everyone knew that this sparring was over. Yi Qingtang was too slow-witted to receive his move. However, no one expected that at that critical moment, Yi Qingtang actually bent down and avoided the attack miraculously. And what made people more speechless was, she bent down only to pick the handkerchief on the ground. Her luck was a little too good. Everyone felt speechless instantly, and the tense strings in their hearts were suddenly loosened. Zhou Chu's imposing punch was dodged by Yi Qingtang so casually, and Zhou Chu's face turned blue in a moment as well. If Yi Qingtang did not have just a tiny red spirit root, Zhou Chu would have thought that she was purposely fooling around with him. Oh, senior brother Zhou already threw out a move? I didn't notice. Yi Qingtang held the handkerchief and looked at Zhou Chu a little shockingly as though she just realized that Zhou Chu had already attacked. The corner of Zhou Chu's lips twitched, and he wished he could kill this girl who had it easy but was still acting innocent. There are still 2 moves then? Yi Qingtang asked with a smile. There are still 2 moves indeed. Junior sister, Yi should be more focused this time, Zhou Chu said while suppressing his grievance. Please go ahead, senior brother Zhou. Yi Qingtang smiled as she kept the small handkerchief. Zhou Chu did not rest for a moment and launched an attack at Yi Qingtang immediately. There was a slight change in expression in Yi Qingtang's eyes. At the moment when Zhou Chu attacked, Yi Qingtang used some mysterious footstep and spun on her heels, turning around. Just by raising her tiny wrist, she directly met with Zhou Chu's fist, which seemed like a careless graze but dispersed the force in Zhou Chu's fist invisibly. Yi Qingtang turned her palm over and pushed Zhou Chu, forcing him to fall forward again in the direction of the force of his punch. To others, this scene appeared as Yi Qingtang shifting her body in a panic. Moreover, the position where she raised her hand to block the move was incorrect as well. But it was just these 2 movements that made Zhou Chu punch the air once again. He stumbled forward a few steps due to the force from his punch and almost fell. After barely regaining his balance, Zhou Chu was utterly confused. What happened? How did his punch suddenly become so weak and soft? Zhou Chu originally suspected whether Yi Qingtang played any tricks, but their interaction just now was only for a moment, and Yi Qingtang only raised his fist with her wrist without using any force. But what happened to him? The next move that he had already prepared could not be carried out due to the sudden and violent stumble. It so happened that Yi Qingtang weirdly dodged this second move. 2 successive failed moves caused Zhou Chu's expression to turn ugly. Other disciples did not react much and merely felt that Yi Qingtang was pretty lucky. Furthermore, Zhou Chu did not beat any other new disciples within 2 moves, though this point was overlooked by everyone. They only felt that Zhou Chu was purposely going easy. Only people as skilled as Yun Shu and Lu Xiuwen could tell that both of Zhou Chu's moves were intended to end the competition immediately. It was just that Yi Qingtang's receiving act was too strange, and one really could not tell whether it was because her luck was good or that Zhou Chu went easy on her. Chapter 138. The smile on Lu Ziyuan's face could not help but fall a little. Wanting to sense whether Yi Qingtang played any tricks, he narrowed his eyes, but he did not feel that there were any special moves after thinking over and over again. 2 out of 3 moves were over. Only 1 move was left, and then Yi Qingtang would win. This time, Zhou Chu did not dare to be careless as well. God knows why this annoying girl was so cursed. She obviously looked very weak. How could he not manage to hit her? Zhou Chu took a deep breath, refusing to believe in superstitions, and the eyes which he looked at Yi Qingtang with became increasingly stern. A seeming smile was still hung on Yi Qingtang's face. There's still one move left. Go ahead, senior brother Zhou, Yi Qingtang said with a smile. Zhou Chu scoffed. He suddenly walked forward and directed his energy, directly hitting Yi Qingtang without giving her any reaction time. A stern look flashed across her smiling eyes. At the moment when Zhou Chu dashed towards her, her hind foot backstepped a little, and she flipped her wrist. When Zhou Chu's punch was about to land, her hands suddenly held onto his fists, and using the impact of his punch, she threw him out directly. To others, all of this seemed like Zhou Chu slipped and was flung forward because his force was too violent. Zhou Chu put all his force into this punch, and if the punch had landed on Yi Qingtang, her bones would definitely be crushed. However, as Yi Qingtang flipped her wrist and dissolved the force, she directly transferred the energy onto Zhou Chu and sent him flying away. A large bang was heard. Zhou Chu was thrown onto the side of the arena with a heavy thud. The pain made his face pale and contorted in agony. The surrounding disciples were all dumbfounded. To them, the battle between Zhou Chu and Yi Qingtang simply looked like a joke. Yi Qingtang wanted to block Zhou Chu's attack, but unexpectedly, Zhou Chu did not stand stable himself and actually flew out. The hell is this? Those new disciples that lost to Zhou Chu previously almost spat a mouthful of blood. Why did Zhou Chu not make so many mistakes when sparring with them? Why was there a series of problems when it became Yi Qingtang? Even if you thought that the little girl was good-looking, you should not be so obvious when going easy on her. Those who still hoped for Yi Qingtang to end up worse than them were all disappointed. Zhou Chu stood up unsteadily and held onto his painful chest as a buzzing sound rang in his head. Senior brother Zhou, you're too kind. I'll accept these 4 bottles of She Spirit pills. Yi Qingtang beamed at the rather shabby-looking Zhou Chu. Before Zhou Chu managed to say something, she went straight to take the 4 bottles of She Spirit pills that Zhou Chu had placed into her hands and kept it as though it was the logical thing to do. Zhou Chu watched with his own eyes as the 4 bottles of She Spirit pills that he won previously was kept by Yi Qingtang. Instantly, his face turned extremely ugly, and he was so depressed he almost threw up blood. He had not managed to react to what happened previously. He only felt that after Yi Qingtang's touch, there seemed to be a force deviating the original track of his fist, and he ended up throwing himself out. No one had expected that Yi Qingtang could actually receive Zhou Chu's 3 moves. Accurately speaking, Yi Qingtang did not even put in any effort. It was Zhou Chu who made successive mistakes which looked like he was intentionally going easy on her. No one knew that Zhou Chu was the one who was pissed to death. Chapter 139. Zhou Chu took out the 4 bottles of She Spirit pills which he did not even plan to give Yi Qingtang. Yet unexpectedly, he lost the bait along with the fish. Under everyone's watch, he could only concede. Not bad, junior sister Yi, Zhou Chu said as his lips twitched, and his face darkened to a shocking shade. In the outer sect, there were quite a few disciples who entered after Zhou Chu and once suffered a loss on this arena. Seeing as to how Zhou Chu lost 4 bottles of She Spirit pills at one go, they were very satisfied as well. Simply not wanting to remain there any longer, Zhou Chu turned around and left with a dark face. Yi Qingtang looked at the 4 bottles of She Spirit pills that she gained, and her lips curled up. She walked down the arena and to Yun Shu's side, stuffing the 4 bottles that she won from Zhou Chu into Yun Shu's hands. "What are you doing, junior sister?" Yun Shu asked, confused. He had not recovered from the shock of Yi Qingtang's victory and could not help but be a little muddle-headed when he saw 4 bottles of elixirs being stuffed into his hands in the blink of an eye. "I borrowed your 2 bottles of elixirs to go up the arena. Now that I've won, I'm just returning them to you with interest," Yi Qingtang beamed. This action fell into many eyes. Previously, quite a number of people were still curious where Yi Qingtang got 2 additional bottles of She Spirit pills from, and they finally understood now. "No, I didn't go up the arena, and it's natural for you to keep this elixir yourself. I'll just take back my 2 original bottles." Yun Shu returned to his senses and was unwilling to gain such benefits without putting any effort. Moreover, he knew that Yi Qingtang's spirit root was not considered good and needed the She Spirit pills more than him. Thus, he was unwilling to share a portion of her winnings. If senior brother Yun doesn't accept, then I'll not find you for help in the future, Yi Qingtang purposely replied in a perplexed tone. Yun Shu opened his mouth and looked at Yi Qingtang's wronged expression, not knowing what to do, and could only forcefully accept it. Thank you then, junior sister. In Lu Ziyuan's eyes, the interaction between Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang was extremely glaring. Initially, Lu Xiuan was still mocking Yun Shu for giving Yi Qingtang his elixirs as it would allow him to establish a greater gap between him and Yun Shu within a month. Lu Xiuan obtained an additional bottle from Zhou Chu and had 3 bottles of Shi spirit pills in total while Yun Shu would have none. Yet, unexpectedly, not only were the 2 bottles of Shi spirit pills that Yun Shu gave out returned to him, he even got 2 additional bottles from Yi Qingtang. In the end, it was Lu Xiuan who had 1 less bottle than Yun Shu instead. All his previous calculations fell out, and Lu Xiuan almost choked to death. The sarcasm on his face vanished into thin air immediately, and his expression was even darker than Zhou Chu, who left hurriedly. Without saying anything, he turned around and left, unwilling to spare both Yi Qingtang and Yun Shu another look. Yi Qingtang is indeed smart. Yun Shu seems to be the young master of Lu Yun family clan, and this act cozied up to him. She is really scheming. Most people were more or less unhappy as they saw that Yi Qingtang and Yun Shu gained 2 additional bottles of Shi spirit pills without doing anything. To them, it was obviously best to use the Shi spirit pills for themselves. However, Yun Shu's family background was outstanding and was indeed a person that one would want to win over. Thus, they had already conjectured the motive of Yi Qingtang's act. Yi Qingtang was not at all bothered by this. What had her kindness to a person got anything to do with their identity or background? It was simply her liking only. After observing from a side all along and witnessing the outcome of the competition, Lin Long showed a worried expression, though she silently left without saying anything. Chapter 140. Shi spirit pill was a good item, and obviously, the more of it, the better. However, Yi Qingtang would never maltreat those who had helped her in her previous life. Only she, who had experienced hell before, would understand vividly how precious the kindness of a timely assistance was. The sword faction was the main faction in the outer sect, and the outer sect warden was to teach Xianling sect's basic swordplays. After the warden taught the lessons, the disciples were to cultivate themselves, and the extent of improvement was all dependent on their own talent and diligence. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang stayed in the outer sect for many years. Thus, she was already extremely familiar with the content of the lessons as if they were on the back of her hand. She was very clear that although the things taught in the outer sect were profound when compared to places outside sects, the real elite skills were concentrated in the inner sect. And only by entering the inner sect would one be able to reach higher attainment and cultivate more powerful skills. After experiencing everything in her past life, Yi Qingtang would not be negligent. The moment she finished listening to the lesson, she immediately headed for the training hall to practice her swordplay. Her current body was in a far better condition than the one in her previous life where she had to go through countless hardships and tribulations. Given her current condition, it was impossible for her to use the many cultivation techniques that she learned in her previous life. Moreover, she did not have a spirit root in the previous life and was utterly helpless at cultivations that used the spirit root. It could be said that she was completely a stranger to this aspect. Thus, she had to cultivate even more diligently in this lifetime. However, after a few days of cultivation, Yi Qingtang did not plod on forcefully as well. To become powerful in the sect, one could not rely only on the lessons but had to personally fight for it. This method was to use the Xianming points. Xianming points could be exchanged for things to upgrade oneself like elixirs, martial technique scrolls, and usage of popular cultivation spots. Additionally, there was only one way of obtaining the points. That was by doing missions. The sect would appoint respective disciples at certain times to complete sect-appointed missions. After completing the mission, one would obtain the respective Xianming points. However, disciples who had just entered the sect for less than a month like Yi Qingtang would not be appointed to complete missions. Yi Qingtang really needed Xianming points, as she knew how important it was to upgrade herself. Hence, her goal was locked down. You want to go to the rewards pavilion? Yun Shu was a little stunned when he heard of Yi Qingtang's plan. The rewards pavilion would distribute some missions which were not forced on the disciples but completely based on the disciples' wish. If they wanted to earn Xianming points, they could accept the missions where there would be no punishment should they fail, and they were able to gain Xianming points should they succeed. According to the differing levels of difficulty, the reward of Xianming points varied. Simple missions would have lesser rewards, and one person could complete it independently, while higher difficulty missions would require disciples to form a group by themselves and complete it through teamwork. Previously, the outer sect elder had mentioned this, but no one took it to heart. The new disciples were still busy familiarizing themselves with everything in the outer sect then and did not have the energy to struggle with missions. Is it because you do not have enough Shi spirit pills already? I still have some with me, how about you take it first? Yun Shu did not completely approve of Yi Qingtang's strategy. These few days he could tell that Yi Qingtang was more hardworking than any other disciple and felt her desire to become powerful. However, Yi Qingtang shook her head with a smile. Chapter 141. I still have Shi spirit pills. I just want to take a look there only, Yi Qingtang told a white lie, as she could tell that Yun Shu was very worried. Other disciples were still smug over obtaining Shi spirit pills, but Yi Qingtang was clearer than anyone that relying only on the Shi spirit pills was far from enough to stand out in the outer sect. At that point of time, Yi Yu had already become Yunshao sect master's disciple, and if Yi Qingtang was to progress so slowly, the gap between her and Yi Yu would only become bigger. At most a year. 1 year later, Yi Qingtang must pass the inner sect assessment, and only then would she be able to close the gap between her and Yi Yu. Really? Yun Shu looked at his junior sister, rather unconvinced. Yi Qingtang laughed innocently. Senior brother Yun, you think too highly of me already. What missions do you think you'll be able to take on given my current abilities? Yun Shu thought so as well and did not ask anything further. Since he still had to cultivate his swordplay, he did not accompany Yi Qingtang to the rewards pavilion. Yi Qingtang went to the outer sect's rewards pavilion alone. The outer sect's rewards pavilion was very broad and had 3 floors in total. All sorts of rewarding missions were distributed mostly on the first floor, while portraits of tyrants on the assassination roll was pasted all over the second floor. It was still considered early when Yi Qingtang came, and there were not many people in the rewards pavilion. Amongst those who came to either select missions or submit their completed missions on the 3rd floor, none of them noticed Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang took a look on the first floor. There were plenty of rewarding missions here, and one would not be able to finish browsing them even after a day. The missions in the rewards pavilion consisted of all kinds of strange things. From killing demonic beasts to seeking treasures, almost anything and everything was there. The lower corner of each mission indicated the number of Xianming points that would be awarded upon completion. Yi Qingtang picked a few missions which gave the highest rewards. Those few were particularly difficult, and the chance of succeeding would still be very low even with hundreds of elite disciples. Some missions with small rewards were suitable for one to complete independently, and Yi Qingtang took a look at them as well, but after weighing her options, she felt that it was not worth it. Most of those missions were quite some distance away from Xianling sect. Although they had a low level of difficulty and were not dangerous, after she took into account the distance to and fro, it would take at least half a month's time. Moreover, the number of Xianming points awarded were in single digits, so it was extremely not worthwhile. In the outer sect, exchanging a bottle of Shi spirit pills already required 15 Xianming points. Even if Yi Qingtang did solo missions non-stop for a month, she would only be able to exchange for 1 bottle at most to even hold up her cultivation. The cost and benefit were simply not proportional. In reality, solo missions were not only the ones on the first floor. On the second floor, mouth-watering number of Xianming points were stated on the bottom of every portrait on the huge assassination roll. The least was hundreds of points, while the higher rewarding ones gave over thousands of points. However, those were not what the current Yi Qingtang could complete. Everyone on the assassination roll were extremely evil and violent. Furthermore, their skills surpassed everyone, and they had committed innumerable murders. Moreover, those people's whereabouts were not fixed, and it was not an easy thing to locate them. Such missions on the assassination roll were mostly accepted by the inner sect disciples, as the outer sect disciples simply were not powerful enough to deal with any one person on the assassination roll. After searching for a long time, Yi Qingtang only saw one mission to kill a level 4 demonic beast where the location was rather far, and the number of points awarded was barely a 2-digit number. When Yi Qingtang was about to calculate whether it was worth it or not, a figure suddenly appeared outside the entrance of the rewards pavilion. Chapter 142. Zhou Chu had been in a terribly foul mood these few days. After losing 4 bottles of she spirit pills to Yi Qingtang in front of everyone, he was ridiculed by quite a few senior and junior brothers. In the many years that he set up the arena, it was still Zhou Chu's first time losing big time to a new disciple. Losing 4 bottles of she spirit pills at once plus the bottle he gave Lu Xiuwen, he barely profited from the new disciples this year. How were the additional 2 to 3 bottles enough for him to make it through this year? Zhou Chu knew that his natural endowment was not outstanding enough. Thus, he squeezed his brain juice to use dishonest means and obtain she spirit pills in order to support himself in ranking in the first 1,000 in the outer sect. However, he did not expect to meet such a cursed Yi Qingtang this year who messed up all his plans. Helpless, Zhou Chu could only head to the rewards pavilion in search of suitable missions for him to exchange for a few bottles of she spirit pills in order to obtain enough spirit pills to support his cultivation. However, never in a million years would Zhou Chu expect that the moment he stepped into the rewards pavilion, he would actually see Yi Qingtang. All the grievance from these few days flooded his mind immediately, and a dangerous look flashed across his eyes. What a coincidence, junior sister Yi. I didn't expect to run into you here. Yi Qingtang heard this and turned around immediately. Looking up, she saw that a devious-looking Zhou Chu had already stood behind her. Senior brother Zhou, Yi Qingtang addressed generously. Zhou Chu clenched his teeth secretly and was even more annoyed when he looked at an unafraid Yi Qingtang. If it were not for Yi Qingtang, how would he have lost so many she spirit pills? How would he, then, be here to search for missions? A plan suddenly formed in his mind, and he laughed while looking at Yi Qing. Good thing you're here, junior sister Yi. I was going to look for you just now. You're looking for me? Yi Qingtang raised her brows and continued. Is there anything you need me for? Zhou Chu laughed. Of course, there is a reason why I wanted to look for you. You performed pretty well on the arena a few days ago, and I am very grateful. However, junior sister Yi seemed to forget something. Thus, I am here to remind you. Oh, what did I forget? Yi Qingtang looked at Zhou Chu calmly. A sharp, cold light shone across Zhou Chu's eyes though he wore a solemn expression. I started the arena that day to be able to learn from fellow disciples and allowed new disciples like you all to participate since you all were interested. However, I personally guided you so painstakingly. Did you forget that you should give me some remuneration? Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. She was aware that Zhou Chu was narrow-minded but did not think that. She had seen a shameless person before but had never seen such a shameless person. Zhou Chu was not resigned to the fact that she won the she spirit pills and actually thought of such an excuse to get some back. Remuneration? I don't remember senior brothers saying about any remuneration, Yi Qingtang said calmly. Suddenly, Zhou Chu's face darkened, and the smile on his face slowly faded. He scoffed. Junior sister Yi, you just entered our sect and may still be unclear of the sect's rules. When an old disciple gives guidance to a new disciple, remuneration is required. It is still so even if this were to travel into the ears of the wardens. Chapter 143. There was indeed such a rule in all the sects. Should new disciples ask senior brothers and sisters for guidance, they could set a certain remuneration in exchange for a little teaching. However, how was Zhou Chu giving guidance? It was clearly an arena he set up, yet he shamelessly worded it so nicely now. Ultimately, he found such an excuse only because he was frustrated over losing the she spirit pills to Yi Qingtang. At that point, there were significantly fewer people in the rewards pavilion. In the wide first floor, only Yi Qingtang and Zhou Chu remained. With the warden in charge of the missions currently on the third floor, no one could say anything even if Zhou Chu were to act arrogantly. Junior sister Yi, I gave you guidance so kindly. It cannot be that you don't even know about such manners? Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes, and a smile extended on her lips. Lifting her chin slightly, she swept a look across Zhou Chu's greedy face and said, I wonder what kind of remuneration does senior brother Zhou want? Zhou Chu was rather satisfied at Yi Qingtang's sensibility and said immediately, You are a new disciple and don't have anything else. I showed you the directions for 3 moves, and according to our initial betting chip on the arena, each move is worth 4 bottles of She Spirit pills. I gave you guidance for 3 moves, so logically, you should give me 12 bottles of She Spirit pills. 12 bottles of She Spirit pills? Zhou Chu really had a large appetite. Yi Qingtang scoffed, 12 bottles of She Spirit pills. Are you joking, senior brother Zhou? How would I have 12 bottles of She Spirit pills? Zhou Chu replied, with the 4 bottles that you took out previously plus the ones I gave you, that will be 8 bottles. I am also not a heartless person. You just need to return me 7 bottles first, and you can return the remaining 5 bottles over 5 months with 1 bottle per month. Rest assured, I will leave 1 bottle for you to use yourself every month. Zhou Chu feigned magnanimous as though leaving 1 bottle for Yi Qingtang every month was already the greatest favor. The smile on Yi Qingtang's lips deepened, though the smile never reached her eyes. An evil expression faintly radiated in her eyes. Senior brother Zhou, I am not an insensible person. However, if you want remuneration, you should show me some real abilities at the bare minimum. With just that little skill where I received the 3 moves on the arena, I'm afraid I'm unwilling to give you any. Zhou Chu initially thought that Yi Qingtang would obey wisely and did not think that she would twist her words. The smile on his face stiffened, and his sinister eyes narrowed. Know what is good for you, Yi Qingtang. I can't even be bothered when others want me to give them guidance for even a move. Now that you made such a huge gain, you still want to deny it? As he said, he clenched his fists which were hanging by his side, making a crisp sound which seemed like a threaten. Yi Qingtang glanced over Zhou Chu's fist, and her eyes turned cold. Senior brother Zhou, courtesy demands reciprocity. If you can receive 3 moves from me, I'll acknowledge your previous guidance. Not only will I pay you the remuneration for the previous 3 moves, but I'll also add on another 12 bottles. How about it? Yi Qingtang said smilingly. Zhou Chu was taken aback instantly. The initial dissatisfaction was replaced by shock at this instant. Receive 3 moves from her? Was Yi Qingtang a fool? At that instant, Zhou Chu really wanted to laugh. He merely wanted to get back what was his with interest and asked for 12 bottles of She Spirit pills. How would he have thought that Yi Qingtang actually sought death herself and doubled the number of She Spirit pills? Chapter 144. No problem, Zhou Chu agreed immediately. He mocked Yi Qingtang for being foolish in his heart. Did she really think that she was more powerful than him now just because she got lucky and received his 3 moves? Zhou Chu's ranking as the first 1,000 in the outer sect was not fake. He was confident in sparring with new disciples with green spirit roots like Lu Xiuwen, much less a red spirit root disciple like Yi Qingtang. A cold murderous look flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes as she saw Zhou Chu's confident expression. Looking down slightly, she hid away all emotion in her eyes. Then, may senior brother Zhou receive my moves? At that point, the rewards pavilion was empty, and they had no other scruple while exchanging blows. Zhou Chu was full of confidence, and the arrogance in his eyes could not be hidden at all. He waved to Yi Qingtang nonchalantly and said, Come on, junior sister Yi. Yi Qingtang's lips curled up. In the very next instant when Zhou Chu finished his sentence, she suddenly disappeared before Zhou Chu's eyes. Suddenly, Zhou Chu lost sight of Yi Qingtang, and the arrogant smile on Zhou Chu's face froze instantly. In the next second, Yi Qingtang suddenly appeared behind Zhou Chu, and a cold light flashed across the bottom of her eyes. At that very moment, Yi Qingtang suddenly raised her leg, and with a jump, she directly landed a heavy kick on Zhou Chu's temple. Zhou Chu simply had no time to react and only felt an extreme pain surging from within his brain. Under this pain, his tough physique could not withstand that blow, and he was kicked dumb. His mind buzzed, and his vision was blurred, rendering him unable to see anything. Senior brother Zhou, this is the first move. Yi Qingtang's voice sounded like that of a devil's which traveled from behind him. Zhou Chu's head seemed as though it was going to explode. The force in that kick just now was not at all inferior to any boxing cultivators and completely not what a 15-year-old girl should possess. However, this was not the end yet. Only one move was over in the agreed 3 moves. Yi Qingtang stood still and looked at Zhou Chu hugging his head without any pity. Suddenly, she took a step forward. Zhou Chu seemed to sense something at that point and straightened himself, wanting to block Yi Qingtang's oncoming attack with his fists. However, Yi Qingtang did not launch a sudden attack this time and merely smiled as she looked at Zhou Chu's miserable look. Zhou Chu was not born gifted, yet he forcefully developed himself to where he was today. Clearly, he was not someone that could be easily bullied. If Yi Qingtang wanted to teach him a lesson, it must obviously be under the pretext of ensuring her own safety. Senior brother Zhou, the second move is next, Yi Qingtang said with a slight smile. Zhou Chu could not be bothered with the ringing pain in his brain and forced himself to raise his head, wanting to catch Yi Qingtang in action. However, he was still a step slower. The moment he looked up, Yi Qingtang rushed to his front at the speed of light, and her tiny figure appeared right in front of him directly. Zhou Chu only managed to look down at Yi Qingtang's outstanding features. What entered his eyes was a smile, with indescribable evilness, which bloomed on her face. It was also at the moment Yi Qingtang smiled when she gave a flying kick right across which violently landed on Zhou Chu's lower jaw. This kick had Zhou Chu flying out immediately. Chapter 145. Zhou Chu's large and strong frame fell on the ground with a heavy thud. The 2 successive kicks were all aimed at his brain. Even for Zhou Chu, a fit and healthy person who was extremely able to withstand blows, he was already dizzy from the 2 kicks. Even if his body was as hard as metal, it was impossible to cultivate until his head became as hard as steel. Zhou Chu got up with difficulty, and the pain in his head intensified. Never would he have dreamt that Yi Qingtang was so swift in her attacks and that she had such a fierce force. How was this level of skill what a new disciple who just entered the sect should have? At that instant, Zhou Chu only wanted to give the disciple who said that Yi Qingtang had a red spirit root a beating. This was the skill of a bloody red spirit root? Where the hell did this find a 15-year-old with a red spirit root who could hit him up so easily come from? If it was said that Zhou Chu was overflowing with confidence when he accepted Yi Qingtang's request for sparring, then at that point in time, that confidence was long crushed into pieces by Yi Qingtang's 2 kicks. Wait a while, Zhou Chu hurriedly said after sensing that something was not right. It was a pity that Yi Qingtang did not intend on letting Zhou Chu off, just like Zhou Chu never intended to let any new disciple on the arena off. Zhou Chu wanted to make a slight adjustment, but Yi Qingtang appeared right before him once again. Junior sister Yi, wait a while. Zhou Chu frowned and said with a feigned discomfort. Just when he thought Yi Qingtang was attracted by his words, he fiercely punched at the nearing Yi Qingtang with a fist full of force. However, this punch did not touch Yi Qingtang at all. The fist that Zhou Chu struck out was easily avoided by Yi Qingtang, who was beaming at him while holding onto his wrist tightly. Zhou Chu's expression changed drastically. Senior brother Zhou, this will be the last move already. A devilish grin emerged on Yi Qingtang's beautiful face. She suddenly lifted another hand and placed it on Zhou Chu's fist, locking them tightly. Using her elbow as support, she turned on her heel swiftly and pulled Zhou Chu by the wrist, throwing him over her shoulders and heavily onto the ground. A loud bang, mixed with Zhou Chu's miserable cry, reverberated throughout the first floor of the rewards pavilion. This fall made Zhou Chu spit out blood immediately. It was as though the bones all over his body were crushed by someone so much so that he was too in pain to even have the energy to crawl up. 3 moves were over. Rather than receiving 3 moves, Zhou Chu did not even have the ability to dodge them. Yi Qingtang stood high and tall and cast a cold look down at Zhou Chu, who was sprawled on the floor, just like how Zhou Chu stood on the arena and hit her until she spat blood in her previous life. Everything that happened in her previous life would not be the same again in this lifetime. Yi Qingtang stepped on Zhou Chu's chest, and an evil grin hung on the corner of her lips. "Zhou Chu, are you even qualified to give me guidance with such little abilities?" The pain was so excruciating that Zhou Chu felt dizzy. With blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth and his chest about to be ripped open from Yi Qingtang's step on it, he did not even have any energy to speak. After appreciating Zhou Chu's miserable look, Yi Qingtang was about to turn and leave. Yet, unexpectedly, just when she turned around and was prepared to leave the rewards pavilion, she suddenly found two figures stood outside the main entrance of the rewards pavilion from God knows when. It was a pair of young men who were taken aback. They looked in shock at Yi Qingtang, who was radiating devilishness, and Zhou Chu, who was stepped under her foot. Chapter 146. Yi Qingtang's head hurt a little. She taught Zhou Chu a lesson just now because there was no one in the rewards pavilion at that time and because 3 moves would only take a short time. Thus, it would not be seen by others as she wished. In the end, someone still ended up seeing it. Yi Qingtang was not afraid of anything but of someone using this matter to stir up trouble. After all, it was strictly forbidden for disciples to fight amongst themselves in the sect. Zhou Chu was still being stepped under her foot, and with a face full of blood, he looked extremely miserable. If someone saw this and wanted to stir trouble, it would really be a bother. It was not that Yi Qingtang could not cook up some lies, but it would take some persuasion and be a waste of time. As Yi Qingtang was conflicted about what to do, the 2 disciples outside the main door similarly experienced complicated emotions. As Gu Yanqiu looked at the devilish-looking girl, shock filled him. He initially wanted to submit a mission with his junior brother, but who knew that he would stumble into such an exciting show just when he reached the entrance of the rewards pavilion. Gu Yanqiu recognized the person on the floor as well, the rather famous disciple in the outer sect, Zhou Chu. Gu Yanqiu knew what kind of person Zhou Chu was, but he did not expect that there would be a day Zhou Chu would be pressed on the floor and be badly beaten up. What made Gu Yanqiu more shocked was that unfamiliar girl. "Senior brother, this girl is quite skilled," Qin Huan, who was standing beside Gu Yanqiu, said as he blinked and looked at Yi Qingtang with approval. He had been annoyed with Zhou Chu for a long time and would have given him a beating long ago if not for the sect's rules. Unexpectedly, someone helped him to vent his anger. Gu Yanqiu frowned slightly. He noticed that there was a change in emotion in the girl's eyes and guessed what she might be concerned of. Coughing lightly, he said, "Junior brother Qin, go submit the mission first." Then he handed the items to Qin Huan. Qin Huan did not say anything further and took the items over. When he walked past Yi Qingtang, he even cast Yi Qingtang a flirty look as though it was nothing. "Yi Qingtang, this senior brother, your principles are gone." As she saw Qin Huan climbing the stairs up, the worry in her heart finally faded slowly. It seemed that these 2 senior brothers were not big-mouthed. Then, Yi Qingtang was ready to take a leave first and then later decide what to do. Seeing that Yi Qingtang was about to leave, Gu Yanqiu immediately said, "Junior sister, please hold on." Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks slightly and looked at the good-looking young man confusedly. "How do I address you, junior sister?" "I am Gu Yanqiu," Gu Yanqiu said politely. "Gu Yanqiu?" Yi Qingtang's eyes widened in surprise. She heard of this name in her previous life as well. However, when she entered Xianling sect's outer sect in her previous life, Gu Yanqiu had already become an inner sect disciple. She had never met him and only heard some things about him. Gu Yanqiu was talented, tactful, and thoughtful, and thus, favored by the Xianling sect elders. After going through a few clues about Gu Yanqiu from her previous life, Yi Qingtang replied, "My name is Yi Qingtang, and I am one of the disciples in the newest batch." Gu Yanqiu was surprised. He already found Yi Qingtang unfamiliar previously and never expected that she was actually a new disciple. He looked at Zhou Chu, who was still lying on the floor, and shock filled Gu Yanqi's eyes unavoidably. A newly entered disciple could actually beat Zhou Chu up into this state? "Senior brother Gu, is there anything else?" Yi Qingtang did not intend to stay for long. Looking away, he cast a look at Yi Qingtang as though he was thinking about something. A moment later, he then said slowly, I wonder if junior sister Yi is interested in taking up a mission. Chapter 147. Gu Yanqiu's words really stunned Yi Qingtang. Gu Yanqiu knew that his words were a little sudden as well. Usually, if they wanted to take on any mission, they would definitely not consider any new disciples. Since they just entered the sect, those new disciples were still not that skilled and, more than that, did not have any experience in completing missions. If such a person was added in a group, the person would only become a burden. However, this time, Gu Yanqiu broke such a tradition. Although Zhou Chu's skills were not considered the best in the outer sect, it was still above average. Just now when they reached the rewards pavilion, Yi Qingtang already exchanged blows with Zhou Chu, and they only saw Yi Qingtang's last move. But it was exactly that one move that gave rise to the idea of adding Yi Qingtang into the group. To be able to knock out Zhou Chu in a move, this new disciple was definitely not simple. Yi Qingtang returned to her senses and could more or less guess the reason for it. According to the memory from her past life, Gu Yanqiu was quite skilled and adept at leading teams. Since it was a mission that he accepted, it should be pretty good. Yi Qingtang herself came to the rewards pavilion to search for a suitable mission but could not find anything she liked after browsing for such a long time. Gu Yanqiu's suggestion could be said to fit exactly with her wishes. I wonder what kind of mission senior brother Gu is talking about. A hint of approval quickly flashed across Gu Yanqiu's eyes when he saw that Yi Qingtang was neither too humble nor too arrogant and merely a tad bit nervous. A few days ago, junior brother Qin and I just took on a hunting mission. The location is at the giant rock canyon, and the target is a level 6 demonic beast. There is a rather large reward for this mission, with a total of over 600 Xianming points. I wonder if junior sister Yi is interested. 600 Xianming points was a pretty good reward. However, Yi Qingtang did not agree directly and asked, "How many people are you intending to recruit into the team for this mission?" Regardless of how many Xianming points there were, it was still important to see how many people the points were going to be split with. Gu Yanqiu was rather shocked over Yi Qingtang's question, but he answered honestly, "I intend to form a team of about 10 people." A team of 10? Yi Qingtang raised her brows slightly. If the mission was completed, splitting 600 Xianming points amongst 10 people meant that one person would get about 60 points each, and this was much more effective than those solo missions she saw. Yi Qingtang roughly calculated the distance between Xianling sect and the giant rock canyon and estimated that they should be able to return in half a month's time if the team was capable enough. Earning 60 Xianming points in half a month was still relatively worth it. After thinking for a moment, Yi Qingtang chuckled, "Count me in for this mission." Gu Yanqiu nodded. "Senior brother Gu, is there any other thing?" Yi Qingtang asked with a smile. Gu Yanqiu shook his head. "Then, just find me before we depart." "I'll head back first," Yi Qingtang said smilingly. This time, Gu Yanqiu did not ask her to stay again. After watching Yi Qingtang leave, Qin Huan, who had already submitted the mission, saw Gu Yanqiu standing at the entrance of the rewards pavilion and went up to him playfully. "That little junior sister left?" Qin Huan chuckled. Gu Yanqiu gave a slight nod and said, "I have already invited her to participate in the giant rock canyon mission." The smile on Qin Huan's face froze slightly, and surprise filled his eyes. Gu Yanqiu had always been cautious in forming his team and had the highest completion rate for the rewarded missions. Previously, Qin Huan indeed admired Yi Qingtang, but he really did not expect that Gu Yanqiu, who had always been cautious, would suddenly pull a little junior sister he just met into the team. Chapter 148. Senior brother, aren't you a little too fast in your actions? That little junior sister just now looks very foreign and feels like a new disciple, Qin Huan said. Gu Yanqiu nodded. That's right, she just entered the sect. Qin Huan's jaw nearly dropped onto the floor. Senior brother, you know that she is a new disciple, yet you still want to add her into the team? You are. Qin Huan really did not know what to say Gu Yanqiu at a moment's time. Since when did Gu Yanqiu become someone who did whatever he pleased? You saw her exchanging blows with Zhou Chu just now as well. What do you think of her skills? Gu Yanqiu asked instead of replying. Qin Huan was taken aback, and he instinctively recalled Yi Qingtang's fierce throw over the shoulder. He really could not draw a connection between that clean and sharp technique with the exquisitely beautiful face. She has some skill, it seems, Qin Huan replied straight to the point. Gu Yanqiu laughed. It is so, then. Our team has never looked at credentials but at abilities. Since she has the ability, why should we be afraid of the so-called difference between new and old disciples? Qin Huan scratched his head and was speechless over how Gu Yanqiu twisted his words. Do whatever you want. Anyway, the Giant Rock Canyon mission is taken on by you. Since you are the leader, then you'll naturally decide on the members. Then, his gaze fell on Zhou Chu, who was half dead on the floor, again. Serves Zhou Chu right. All he knows is to bully the new disciples. Meeting a skilled one this time is a lesson for him. Gu Yanqiu frowned slightly and said, Zhou Chu is fearless, but don't forget the reason why he dares to be so arrogant in the outer sect. Qin Huan was taken aback. An image of a person suddenly flashed across his mind. If Zhou Xian hears of this incident, Gu Yanqiu shook his head. These were not what they could control. Yi Qingtang returned from the rewards pavilion and made a mental note of the Giant Rock Canyon mission. Just when she returned to her room, she heard a clear laugh. When she pushed open the door, she saw Su Wan chatting with another young girl. Upon seeing Yi Qingtang's return, both of them stopped laughing, and their eyes seemed to intentionally avoid Yi Qingtang as though they completely did not see her. Yi Qingtang had a little memory of that girl whom Su Wan was chatting with. She was also one of the new disciples. Junior sister Su, I didn't expect that you were actually allocated to stay with her. There is still another empty spot at my place. How about we ask the warden if you could be changed to stay over there someday? That young girl said smilingly. Although her voice was not loud, Yi Qingtang could still hear it. Su Wan glanced over at Yi Qingtang, who just walked past, and an unusual emotion flashed across her eyes, though she quickly looked down to restrain her expression. There's no need to trouble. Fortunately, entering the sect is also all for the sake of cultivation. I'm not bothered with other things, Su Wan said gently. Junior sister Su is still so good-natured. But this is not a way as well. Isn't Yun? The girl still wanted to say something, but Su Wan hurriedly shook her head without allowing her to continue on. The girl peeked at Yi Qingtang and frowned, speaking quietly, Junior sister Su, if you really like senior brother Yun, you must take more initiative. Otherwise, you'll just give others a chance, and it would really be too late then. Chapter 149. There was a pained look on Su Wan's face. As early as during the entrance assessment, Su Wan already crushed on the gentle Yun Shu, but she did not dare to take any action and could only look at him silently. This was nothing much, but what made Su Wan conflicted was Yi Qing. Since the entrance assessment, Yi Qingtang had been extremely close to Yun Shu, and now that they entered the sect, it could be said that Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang were always together. When they were listening to lessons, they would also sit together, and in the seldom occasions where he was not with Yi Qingtang, he was busy cultivating alone. As a result, Su Wan never had the slightest chance of getting close to him even though she wanted to. Instead, it was Yi Qingtang who became even closer to Yun Shu. All of this fell into Su Wan's eyes. Senior sister Lu. I have no choice as well. I'm afraid senior brother Yun doesn't even know me, Su Wan said rather bitterly. The girl who was speaking to Su Wan was Lu Yu. Seeing Su Wan's resignation to the situation, Lu Yu was even angrier. What choice do you not have? Others even gave up on their pride and clung on to him, and you're still watching on like this? Senior brother Yun is good-natured. How would he reject you if you went to him? When Lu Yu said this, she intentionally or unintentionally looked at Yi Qingtang, who was reading. Su Wan pursed her lips. In reality, the intimacy between Yi Qingtang and Yun Shu was already widespread amongst the new disciples in the outer sect. Everyone already could not imagine that Yi Qingtang passed the entrance assessment with a red spirit root. Moreover, the Yi family clan in Lin Town that she came from was not a renowned family clan. She was merely born with better looks, and such a person was simply useless in a sect. Yet Yun Shu so happened to be close to Yi Qingtang. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang gave the 2 additional bottles of Shi spirit pills that she won on the arena to Yun Shu previously, causing a number of new disciples to think that something was up. They only felt that Yi Qingtang tried so hard to please Yun Shu because she took a fancy on the Lu Yun family clan behind his back. Su Wan remained silent. Knowing that she could not say anything much, Lu Yu and Su Wan finally left after sitting for a while. Only Yi Qingtang was left in the room alone. She sat at the corner of her bed and flipped through a book on Xianling Sect's basic swordplay. The little lightning dragon peered his head out from her embrace and lazed against her arms. Su Wan is actually interested in senior brother Yun? Yi Qingtang raised her brows slightly. Although Su Wan and Lu Yu already lowered their volume intentionally while talking just now, Yi Qingtang still heard everything. Yi Qingtang was simply too lazy to explain the rumor between her and Yun Shu. Why was there a need to waste saliva in explaining things to people she did not care about? It was a waste of time only. However, Yi Qingtang really did not expect Su Wan to be interested in Yun Shu and still thought that Su Wan had always been cold to her previously because she looked down on her spirit root. Unexpectedly, the problem was actually with Yun Shu. However, Yi Qingtang's brows were furrowed. In her previous life when she came to Xianling sect, Su Wan and Yun Shu were already in the sect long ago. However, at that time, Su Wan never over-interacted with Yun Shu and, rather, was extremely close to Lu Xiuan. Rumors of them having a secret affair even spread throughout the outer sect. How was it that in this lifetime, Su Wan suddenly changed and took a fancy on Yun Shu and not Lu Xiuan? Yi Qingtang did not think much into it though. After pondering for a short moment, she put this matter down again. Chapter 150. Yi Qingtang had been diligently training according to a routine every day to strengthen herself. Occasionally, she would exchange a few moves with Yun Shu, though they were mostly centered on the sect's swordplay. 2 days passed like this, and Yi Qingtang heard some news regarding Zhou Chu. After being beaten up to a pulp by Yi Qingtang that day, he was carried back to his room, and it was said that he was still dizzy and had not woken up. Yi Qingtang was still wondering whether Zhou Chu would cause her trouble the very moment he woke up. Yet, unexpectedly, others found her 1 step ahead of him instead. Yi Qingtang had just finished practicing her swordplay. When she exited the main entrance, she saw a carefree Qin Huan leaning against a tree and teasing a tiny framed female disciple. Qin Huan had a handsome face and peach blossom eyes. His smile was very attractive, causing the young lady to blush furiously and run away shyly while cupping her cheeks. Before Qin Huan could regret over how the little junior sister he took a fancy on escaped, he saw Yi Qingtang standing a few steps away from him and glaring at him with a very subtle look. Qin Huan's face froze. Clearing his throat rather awkwardly, he went forward and greeted, "Junior sister Yi? Senior brother Qin?" Yi Qingtang chuckled. She only met him once at the rewards pavilion the other day, and it was Gu Yanqiu who told her about the mission afterward as well. It seemed that Qin Huan came here today because Gu Yanqiu's team was straightened out. "Did junior sister Yi just finish practicing your swordplay? You're really diligent," Qin Huan said with a laugh with a senior brother tone. However, ever since Yi Qingtang witnessed him flirting with 2 female disciples, Qin Huan's image was completely shattered. "Are you here to find me because of senior brother Gus' mission?" Yi Qingtang asked. Qin Huan nodded. "Junior sister Yi is indeed smart. Senior brother Gu has already decided on the people and decided to depart tomorrow. Thus, he wanted me to find you today to familiarize with each other in advance since we are going to be comrades in the hunt in the future." Qin Huan smiled temptingly as his peach blossom eyes smiled beautifully. "It'll trouble senior brother Qin to lead the way then," Yi Qingtang replied calmly without any change in expression. Was he not smiling obviously enough? Or did his skill in picking up girls drop? How was it that junior sister Yi did not have any reaction to such a flowery smile of his? Qin Huan could not help but be a little suspicious of his manly charisma. Honestly speaking, Yi Qingtang's appearance stood out from the rest and was hardly comparable even in a place like Xianling sect. Qin Huan, who had smoothly picked up many girls, naturally wanted to flirt with Yi Qingtang as well. Yet, the outcome could not be any more miserable. His male ego took a huge hit. What's wrong, senior brother Qin? Yi Qingtang looked at the defeated Qin Huan with an intentional puzzled look. Qin Huan returned to his senses and quickly dusted off that sense of defeat. Nothing. They'll bring you there now. Yi Qingtang's lips curled up into a smile as she saw the sadness in Qin Huan's eyes fade in an instant. Although this senior brother did not have any principles, he was pretty cute. Qin Huan still did not know that his dignified and majestic image as a senior brother long became cute in Yi Qingtang's heart and brought her to the team's gathering point. Gu Yanxiu had already been standing there for a long time, and a few other outer sect disciples with powerful demeanors were standing beside him. When Qin Huan brought Yi Qingtang over, those few disciples eyed Yi Qingtang up and down rudely without concealing. Chapter 151. Junior Sister Yi, Gu Yanxiu greeted with a smile upon seeing Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang nodded in response. Gu Yanxiu, so this is the person you found? One of those other disciples suddenly asked. Gu Yanxiu replied, this is Yi Qingtang. She is a teammate in our mission to the giant rock canyon this time. Junior Sister Yi, this is Meng Sheng. Gu Yanxiu pointed at the person who popped the question just now and subsequently introduced the others to Yi Qingtang. This time, Gu Yanxiu found a total of 10 people as he said previously. However, other than Gu Yanxiu and Qin Huan, everybody looked at Yi Qingtang with a subtle expression. Is Junior Sister Yi a new disciple? Meng Sheng asked with a frown. Yes, Yi Qingtang answered without emotion. How is your spirit root? Meng Sheng asked again. His excessive questions could not be blamed though. It was indeed unexpected for everyone that Gu Yanxiu invited a new disciple to join the team this time. Gu Yanxiu would occasionally pick a few missions that were suitable to be completed by a team. Moreover, he had plenty of experience, and most of the missions he selected could be successfully completed. Many outer sect disciples were very willing to work with him, and the other disciples like Meng Sheng this time were considered to be people who frequently went on missions with Gu Yanxiu. The teammates Gu Yanxiu usually selected were very reliable, but this time, Gu Yanxiu suddenly said that he found a new disciple to join, causing others to be surprised undoubtedly. They heard some things about this batch of new disciples as well and knew that there were 2 geniuses with green spirit roots this time. Red spirit root, Yi Qingtang said generously. With that said, the other 9 people present were dumbfounded. Even Gu Yanxiu and Qin Huan stared with their mouth opened. Yi Qingtang actually had a red spirit root? What joke was this? Senior brother Gu, are you sure you want a new disciple with a red spirit root to go on the mission with us? Meng Sheng's initially emotionless face darkened the moment he heard that Yi Qingtang had a red spirit root. He originally thought that the new disciple Gu Yanxiu found was one of the 2 disciples with green spirit roots. Yet, she had a red spirit root. Earlier on, he had already heard that there was someone with a red spirit root in this batch of new disciples, and they all treated it as a joke. He did not expect that in the end, this person was actually going to be their teammate and was whom Gu Yanxiu personally recruited. Shock was written on Gu Yanxiu's face completely as well. He had never expected that Yi Qingtang was only a red spirit root. Gu Yanxiu saw Yi Qingtang's skills at the rewards pavilion previously. Although it was not much, it was enough to gain his acknowledgement. Thus, he made an exception to recruit Yi Qingtang into the team. He did not ask more then and instinctively felt that even if Yi Qingtang was not a green spirit root, she would still be a yellow spirit root. In a moment, Gu Yanxiu's expression turned a little awkward. Looking at Gu Yanxiu's reaction, Meng Sheng could not help but sneer as he openly looked at Yi Qingtang up and down. Junior Sister Yi, do you know the level of the demonic beast that we are going to the giant rock canyon to hunt this time? That is a level 6 giant lizard which has killed countless of people. Yi Qingtang raised her brows as she looked at the sarcastic Meng Sheng and scoffed in her heart. Meng Sheng turned to Gu Yanxiu and said, Senior brother Gu, you have always made sound decisions, but this time, I wish that you can properly consider whether a new disciple with a red spirit root would have the ability to follow us to the giant rock canyon. Gu Yanxiu frowned slightly and did not give a clear answer immediately. Chapter 152. Qin Huan quickly returned to his senses and looked at Yi Qingtang over and over again. However, there was neither the slightest trace of discrimination nor belittlement in his eyes, but a burst of shock. As a new disciple, it was already very fierce and fiery of her to be able to knock out Zhou Chu. What was scarier was that she was still only a red spirit root. What was this girl? How could a red spirit root still be so fierce? What's wrong with a red spirit root? I think that this isn't a big deal. If junior sister Yi is skilled enough, why bother about the spirit root? This isn't even about selecting spirit roots. Why do you care so much? Qin Huan could not help but retort when he noticed Meng Xing's dissatisfaction. He thought that Yi Qingtang was very awesome. Why were these people all so snobbed to simply judge her based on her spirit root when they had not seen her abilities? Narrow-minded. Really too narrow-minded. Yi Qingtang originally saw Gu Yanqi's awkward expression and mentally prepared herself for the worst, that she might not be able to take part in this mission. Yet, unexpectedly, Qin Huan, who seemed unreliable, actually became the first person to speak up for her. Junior brother Qin, the quality of a spirit root is related to our cultivation. What is wrong whether I care about it or not? Furthermore, we have already reduced the number of people in this mission. Other teams in the outer sect formed a team of at least 12 to 13 people to deal with a level 6 demonic beast, but we only have 10. If we bring a new disciple with an inferior spirit root, what are the chances of success? This mission would take at least half a month's time, and if we fail, who is to bear the loss of this half a month? Meng Xing did not back down at all. How would you know we would fail if you have not tried before? Qin Huan asked in return. Meng Xing was about to say something, but Gu Yanqiu spoke at that moment. I have already decided on the members. What junior brother Qin said is right, and I understand junior brother Meng's concern as well. However, we are going to set off tomorrow, and changing members at the last minute would be even more inappropriate. As the initiator of this mission, I guarantee to compensate everyone's loss should we fail this mission. When I complete missions with you all in the future, I will automatically make up to everyone with my Shenming points. How about that? Gu Yanqiu said calmly, though there was a hint of toughness in his tone. Meng Xing frowned slightly. Even if he had any more dissatisfactions, it was difficult to continue arguing after Gu Yanqiu mentioned about the compensation. On the other hand, the other disciples did not feel too strongly about this. While everyone was indeed suspicious of Yi Qingtang's abilities, they still had some trust in the people that Gu Yanqiu selected. Moreover, when a new disciple joined the team, she would definitely be given a little less once the mission is completed. In this way, they would be given more, and there was nothing much to object to. As the initiator of the mission and the team leader, Gu Yanqiu would be given a higher percentage of Shenming points. Hence, since he said he would compensate them should they fail, they would obviously accept it as they trusted Gu Yanqiu. Without any objections, the matter was settled like this. Yi Qingtang did not say anything from start to end. Rather, it was Gu Yanqiu who turned to Yi Qingtang after persuading everyone else and said apologetically, Junior Sister Yi, I'm sorry. Just now, was just a little shocked and neglected you. I hope you will excuse me. Gu Yanqiu did not speak up for her immediately when Meng Xing questioned Yi Qingtang just now, and regardless, Yi Qingtang was someone he found and personally invited. Thus, he was naturally guilty. Chapter 153. No problem. I am already very happy that senior brother Gu is willing to believe in me, Yi Qingtang said generously. Rather than debating about how skilled she was with others, why not prove to them with her skills in the mission? Gu Yanqiu was a tactful and rather fair person, and this was good. Only Qin Huan's reaction previously surprised Yi Qingtang slightly and made her like the frivolous senior brother even more. After confirming the members, Gu Yanqiu shared the information he researched on with his teammates. The giant lizard was a level 6 demonic beast with thick, rough skin and had an extremely strong defense. Poison was present in its saliva and hidden between its scales, and one would have to be exceptionally cautious if they wanted to kill it. I recommend everyone to prepare some antidotes individually in case you need it when the time arises, Gu Yanqiu reminded. Everyone was experienced and naturally knew about these. Qin Huan took a look at Yi Qingtang from aside and whispered softly, "Junior sister Yi, I'll prepare your share of antidotes for you." Then, he still gave her a surreptitious wink which enhanced his already handsome appearance. Yi Qingtang did not know whether to laugh or cry, but she still remembered Qin Huan's kindness. In the sect, elixirs could only be exchanged with Shenming points. Although antidotes required very few Shenming points, Yi Qingtang did not have a single point since she was a new disciple, and it was good that Qin Huan noticed this. After a while more, everyone dispersed. During the meeting, Meng Xing did not say anything further, but he looked at Yi Qingtang disapprovingly before leaving. "Junior sister Yi, Meng Xing is just like that. Don't take it to heart," Qin Huan comforted. Yi Qingtang chuckled, "It's fine." Upon seeing that Yi Qingtang did not have any special reaction, Qin Huan finally put his heart at ease and bade Yi Qingtang goodbye along with Gu Yanqiu to start his own preparations. Yi Qingtang returned to her room alone and analyzed the information on the giant lizard. Afterward, she took out the scales of the fire beast that she previously brought from the treasure pavilion from her space ring. She had always stored this item in her space ring and only took out to use some of it on second young Master C when he was poisoned. She still had a large portion of it on her hands, and she had not found a suitable time to use it until now where there was finally a use for it. The nature of the giant lizard's poison was fire, and the scales of the fire beast had an extremely high resistance against poison with a fire nature. Even if it was the flame toxin, the fire beast's scale had a way better resistance against it than any other things. After pondering for a moment, she started working on it. There was some tannic acid in her space ring. This was a corrosive substance that was usually used to soak rusty ironware to wash the rust away. Yi Qingtang got a large wooden bucket and smeared a layer of waterproof white glue in the bucket. Once the white glue dried, she poured the tannic acid into the bucket and soaked the scales of the fire beast in it. The scales of the fire beast were extremely hard, making it very difficult to be destroyed and forged. However, this was merely due to the lack of knowledge in the current era. In the future, some intellects discovered that the scales could be softened using tannic acid, allowing it to be forged easily. In the present, no one apart from her knew how to process the scales of the fire beast. Thus, Yi Qingtang bought many of it at the treasure pavilion. Watching the scales of the fire beast soak in tannic acid, Yi Qingtang thought of something, and she immediately started preparing after estimating the materials she had on hand. Chapter 154. Once Su Wan returned to the room, she smelled a faint sour smell. With a frown, her eyes followed the direction of the smell where she ended up looking at where Yi Qingtang was. Although the living quarters for the three people were all in one room, they were separated by a screen and thus Su Wan could only see Yi Qingtang's shadow and not what she was busy with. Su Wan's face turned ugly as she covered her nose. "What smell is this? It's so stinky." Su Wan's complaints traveled into Yi Qingtang's ears, and Yi Qingtang merely smiled lightly. While the tannic acid had a rather sour smell, there was a fruity scent in it, and it did not smell bad and was even fresh-smelling. Knowing that Su Wan was unhappy with her over Yun Shu, Yi Qingtang did not take her comment to heart. She looked down at the wooden bucket where the translucent tannic acid had already turned brownish-red due to the soaked fire beast's scales. Yi Qingtang used 2 long chopsticks to poke at it and realized that the scales had already softened. Then she picked them up immediately. After soaking in tannic acid for such a long time, the scales of the fire beast, which was initially thick, became unusually soft. Its texture was not as rough as before and felt soft like a slightly thick piece of cotton instead. Yi Qingtang wiped away the tannic acid on the scales, took out a pair of scissors, and immediately cut them before they hardened again. Afterward, she took out a special iron needle, threaded a fish glue thread through it, and began sewing nimbly. Half a day passed just like that. Yi Qingtang used the softened scales of the fire beast and made 3 pieces of fire-resistant soft armor. Out of those 3 pieces of armor, she kept 1 for herself. Then, she wrapped the other 2 and kept them aside. This fire-resistant soft armor was very light and had good flexibility. There would be no discomfort for anyone and was very suitable to be worn on the body. Although it was thin, the characteristics of the fire beast scale was fixed within the fire-resistant soft armor. Even if these 3 pieces of armor were thrown into a furnace and left to burn for 3 successive days, only the fish glue thread would be burnt at most, and the soft armor would definitely not be affected at all. Yi Qingtang wore one of the 3 pieces of armor, and with outerwear, one could not tell any unusualness or plumpness. As the weather was turning cold, wearing the fire-resistant soft armor even warmed the body. After putting it on, Yi Qingtang immediately took another armor and headed out to find Yun Shu. "This is for me?" Yun Shu looked strangely at the dark red vest that Yi Qingtang handed to him. He could not tell what material was that vest made of, but it felt warm to touch and was very magical. "This thing is not too bad. If senior brother Yun doesn't mind, wear it on your body on normal days," Yi Qingtang said with a smile. She would naturally not forget about Yun Shu when she had something good. She owed him her life in her previous life. Yun Shu took the fire-resistant soft armor in his hand and pursed his lips with a complicated expression in his eyes. He looked up at Yi Qingtang with a subtle expression. Seeing that she had an upright look and no flirtatious intent in her eyes, Yun Shu really did not know how to react at the moment. After staying silent for quite a while, Yun Shu finally replied rather stiffly, "Since it is junior sister Yes kindness, then I will accept it. Thank you." "There's no need to be polite with me," Yi Qingtang said generously. No one knew that the interaction between the two of them fell into the eyes of someone who passed by them not far away. Su Wan frowned at the antidotes in her hand and thought of Qin Huan's attractive face again. She was very unwilling as all of this was connected to Yi Qingtang. "Junior sister Su, your chance is here," Lu Yu, who heard everything clearly in the room, suddenly exclaimed. Su Wan closed the door and threw the antidotes on Yi Qingtang's table unwillingly. "Senior sister Lu, don't make fun of me already. Junior sister Su, are you dumb? Didn't you hear that senior brother from just now say that Yi Qingtang is going on a mission with them and would not return for at least half a month? In this time, won't you be able to properly interact with senior brother Yun?" Lu Yun said. Excitement could be seen in Su Wan's eyes as a glimmer of hope suddenly emerged in her heart. Chapter 156. When Yi Qingtang returned to her room, Lin Long and Su Wan were both present. Lin Long was reading at her table alone as usual while Su Wan, for the first time, initiated to talk to Yi Qingtang when she saw her. "Yi Qingtang, a senior brother came to find you just now and wants me to tell you to gather outside the sect tomorrow morning. He even prepared a few bottles of elixirs which I placed on your table." This was the first time Su Wan spoke to Yi Qingtang. Despite acting casual, there was still a hint of awkwardness in her tone. Yi Qingtang looked at the few bottles of elixirs on her table and immediately knew which senior brother Su Wan was referring to. "Thanks," Yi Qingtang said quietly. Su Wan frowned, and she pursed her lips. It was already a huge grievance for her to interact with Yi Qingtang, but once she thought of what Lu Yu said before she left, Su Wan still took a deep breath and asked again, "Are you going to do a mission already?" "Yes." Yi Qingtang was keeping the elixirs and did not pay too much attention to Su Wan's expression. "But aren't the new disciples temporarily not appointed any missions?" Su Wan asked in an attempt to fish for more information. "It is a rewarded mission," Yi Qingtang replied. Su Wan was taken aback. She only heard the outer sect elder mention the rewarded missions when she entered the outer sect. Although some new disciples checked out the rewards pavilion these few days, none of them rushed to accept a mission. After all, they were still new disciples and did not have enough control for these missions. Previously, Su Wan already thought it was strange and thought that Yi Qingtang was appointed on a mission and had to go on a mission together with Qin Huan. The mission that Yi Qingtang was going for was actually a rewarded mission. How could this be? Su Wan looked at Yi Qingtang's back view and narrowed her eyes. Yi Qingtang was only a new disciple and had a red spirit root. Which senior brother or senior sister would bring such a burden on a rewarded mission? Su Wan really could not understand, but when she saw the sunlight from her window casting on Yi Qingtang's beautiful side profile, it was as though she knew something. No matter how she looked down on Yi Qingtang, Su-won could not deny that Yi Qingtang's beauty was indeed outstanding. "How many days are you going for?" Su-won asked instinctively but forgot about the urgency in her tone. Yi Qingtang did not pay much attention previously, thus, she replied one after another, but she suddenly sensed that Su-won seemed to be very concerned about her mission. She could not help but stop what she was doing and turn to look at Su-won behind her. The pair of questioning eyes fell on Su-won's soft face, causing Su-won to panic. Only then did Su-won realize that she was overly pushy, as she was not supposed to probe on just now. "Su-won, you seem to be very concerned about me going on a mission?" Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows slightly. It must be known that in all these days that they entered the sect, this young lady Su could not even be bothered to say anything to her. Why did she suddenly change today? Su-won paled and looked down, hiding away the panic in her eyes. She put on a calm front and said, "I'm just asking casually." Yi Qingtang smiled and did not say anything more, as she really did not feel like playing company with those girly thoughts that Su-won was having. As long as Su-won did not provoke her, she could not be bothered with what Su-won was thinking of. Su-won sat aside silently as hope arose within her. Yi Qingtang was really going out on a mission. Then, in the coming period of time, Yi Qingtang would never appear beside senior brother Yun. She must really seize this opportunity and let senior brother Yun know who was actually the best. Chapter 157. After a night of packing, Yi Qingtang did not prepare too many things. She only packed some food and clothes to change in. As for the elixirs and whatnot, she still had some in her space ring, and adding on the antidotes that Qin Huan sent, it was enough to use. This morning, Yi Qingtang was done packing and ready to head to the gathering point. When she just left the door, she suddenly saw a complicated-looking Yun Shu standing below a tree not far away, who was looking down with a frown as though he was troubled. "Senior brother Yun?" Yi Qingtang walked up curiously. Upon hearing Yi Qingtang's voice, Yun Shu suddenly returned to his senses, and a trace of fluster could be seen on his face. Junior Sister Yi, good morning." Yun Shu sounded rather stiff. "Is senior brother Yun waiting for me to head to the warden's lesson together?" Yi Qingtang asked. Yun Shu stunned for a moment, then finally muttered a stiff-sounding yes. "I'm afraid that won't be possible. I am going to do a rewarded mission with other senior brothers and sisters and will not be back until about half a month later." "You don't have to wait for me in this half a month," Yi Qingtang said with a laugh, as she forgot to tell Yun Shu about it yesterday. Yun Shu could not help but look surprised when he heard that Yi Qingtang was going on a rewarded mission. "Rewarded mission? You really went there to take on a mission that day, and you still tried to sweet-talk me." Yun Shu frowned as he recalled how Yi Qingtang said she was going to the rewards pavilion the other day. Though there was blame in his tone, it was more of worry. "Rest assured, senior brother Yun. I'm only there to experience it this time. There are still a few other senior brothers together with me. Don't worry," Yi Qingtang chuckled. In both her previous and current life, Yun Shu was like her brother, and his nagging made her feel exceptionally warm. "Forget it, I can't control you anyway. You should be more careful. If there are any problems, don't rush into it so hurriedly. Listen to the guidance from other senior brothers." Yun Shu sighed as he understood that based on Yi Qingtang's character, she was not someone who would change her mind just because of his nagging. "Okay, I will remember senior brother Yun's words by heart." Yi Qingtang laughed in reply. Yun Shu took a look at her, and all his emotions that he gathered were completely gone after hearing Yi Qingtang's sudden news. Considering that Yi Qingtang was right about to go on a mission and that some things were inconvenient to be said in case she becomes distracted during the mission, he suppressed everything in his heart. Without saying anything more, Yun Shu took out a few bottles of elixirs from his arms and stuffed them into Yi Qingtang's hand. "These are elixirs that I brought from my family clan. Perhaps there will be a use for them." Yi Qingtang looked at her hand full of elixirs, and a warm smile surged in her eyes. "It is still senior brother Yun who dotes on me," Yi Qingtang chuckled. Sparing with a corny affection, she kept the bottles swiftly. Anyway, whatever good things that she obtained in the future, there would always be a share for Yun Shu, and there was no need to regard him as an outsider. Yun Shu really did not know how to react to her teasing and hurried her to get moving after nagging a few more times. Watching Yi Qingtang's disappearing further away, Yun Shu shook his head with a bitter smile. However, he did not notice that not far away, Su Wan stood outside the door from some time ago and witnessed everything between Yi Qingtang and Yun Shu. Jealousy and hatred filled that pair of gentle-looking eyes. "Senior brother Yun," Su Wan said gently after hiding away all her emotion. Yun Shu, who was preparing to leave, suddenly turned around and looked confusedly at a rather foreign-looking Su Wan upon hearing a voice. "This junior sister?" Su Wan quietly took a deep breath. Stepping forward, she greeted gently, "Senior brother Yun, my name is Su Wan." "So it's junior sister Su," Yun Shu replied kindly. "Is senior brother Yun going to listen to class?" "Yes. I'm heading there as well. If you don't mind, can we go together?" Su Wan looked up with endless affection in her soft eyes. "Yi Qingtang, what right do you have to fight with me?" Chapter 158. Outside the main entrance of Xianling sect, Gu Yanqiu and the rest had already arrived. Yi Qingtang arrived just on time. The moment she exited the door, she saw Qin Huan rushing up towards her. "How is it, little junior sister? You've received the things, haven't you?" Qin Huan asked with a smile so bright that was comparable to a sunny day. Yi Qingtang replied very calmly, "I received it. Many thanks, senior brother. Could it be that I became uglier recently?" Just when Qin Huan was pondering about why his ever-successful smile failed on Yi Qingtang every single time, Yi Qingtang placed the fire-resistant soft armor that she prepared long ago in his hands. "This is?" Qin Huan looked at the soft armor and thought that the item was pretty interesting as that there was a surge of warmth in his hands. "A gift in return," Yi Qingtang replied. "Little junior sister, how much do you despise me that you're unwilling to owe me even a small favor?" While Qin Huan accepted the gift, the complaints and sadness within him intensified. Gu Yanqiu walked over at this time and said, "Junior sister Yi, there are 2 more people left. We will wait for a while more." Yi Qingtang nodded. Qin Huan was extroverted and had always been lively while Gu Yanqiu was silent and disliked speaking too much. If he said anything, they were definitely useful words. In the whole team, Yi Qingtang was a little more familiar to only these 2 people, but she did not try to get closer to the rest of the team as well. Rather, it was Meng Xing who wore an ugly expression once Yi Qingtang appeared. Clearly, he was still not too satisfied with Yi Qingtang as his last-minute teammate. "Senior brother Meng, don't take it to heart already. Just take it as giving senior brother Gu face. That little junior sister is pretty good-looking. Didn't you see Qin Huan protecting her so persistently? For all we may know, this is someone Qin Huan likes, and senior brother Gu only invited her to join us because he was showing Qin Huan face." Another disciple in the team laughed. "Qin Huan doesn't even know to restrain himself. Sooner or later he will get into trouble," Meng Xing said coldly. Qin Huan's nature was to flirt with pretty junior sisters when he had nothing to do, and they no longer minded it. However, it was good that Qin Huan knew when to stop and kept business and personal issues separate. Thus, they did not bother too much about it. But this time, Meng Xing was a little unhappy. However, on Gu Yanqiu's account, he did not say any more ugly words. A while later, the other 2 disciples hurried over. All 10 members arrived. Previously, Gu Yanqiu had already reported to the outer sect elder about their journey. At that instant, they were all outside the sect and above the clouds, standing in the sky while being surrounded by mist. "Let's go," Gu Yanqiu said. In the next second, the path to heaven that they had to go through during the entrance assessment appeared before them. Light shone from the cloud and straight onto the ground. Everyone stepped on the path to heaven and walked down from Xianling sect with a lotus blooming at every step they took. The giant rock canyon was quite some distance away from Xianling sect. Sects would allocate horses and carriages for disciples to use when they were out on a mission. Gu Yanqiu had already reported about the mission. Hence, when they descended from the path to heaven, they saw 10 horses at the peak of the mountain, and everyone sat on a horse each. After entering the sect, they were required to wear the sect uniform when leaving for missions. Amongst the 10 people, there was only one girl, Yi Qingtang. The other 9 people were elegant and talented young men with full energy and extraordinary disposition. Taking a look at the 10 people on horses, it was like a brilliant scenery. And so, they began their journey for the rewarded mission. Chapter 159. The giant rock canyon was far away, and everyone was experienced. There was not much talking on the journey, though Gu Yanqiu would occasionally stop to verify their coordinates and then continue the journey. Yi Qingtang was at the tail of the team, and she looked at Gu Yanqiu at the most front with admiration. It was not illogical for Gu Yanqiu to be able to achieve such a high position in the future. The team that followed him only had to listen to arrangements, and everything would be fully right. Everyone did not really interact throughout the journey, as they rode at top speed, grasping every minute and second. In the sect, every disciple placed extreme importance on cultivation and would naturally be unwilling to spend time on journeys. Gu Yanqiu was previously worried that Yi Qingtang would not be able to withstand the treacherous journey since she was a junior disciple, a female, and the youngest in the team. However, in the times that he looked back to check on Yi Qingtang, he realized that this junior sister's condition was far more stable than he imagined. After hitting the road through days and nights, there was neither a slight trace of fatigue nor teenage girl's pretentious act on Yi Qingtang's face, as though there was no difference between her and the rest of the disciples in the team. To this, Gu Yanqiu could not help but be in more approval of her. Gu Yanqiu had recruited skilled junior and senior sisters to participate in missions previously as well, but in those episodes, he was rather annoyed by the problems that arose. Females' physical strength was a little weaker than that of males, and most were not used to such a hurried journey. Sometimes, Gu Yanqiu had no choice but to slow down to give in to them, causing the time taken to complete the mission to be prolonged. Eventually, Gu Yanqiu no longer formed teams with female disciples. Yi Qingtang's performance really surprised him to a certain extent. Other teammates who shared the same worry put down some of their views against her upon seeing Yi Qingtang's condition as well. At least, this little junior sister was not finicky. 6 days later, the team finally arrived near the giant rock canyon. Between the hills, a canyon formed from overlapping giant rocks, as though it was a crack in the ground, appeared before everyone's eyes. Before they arrived at the giant rock canyon, everyone had already felt the heat wave from the canyon sweeping towards them along with the wind. The giant rock canyon was originally a volcano. Hundreds of years ago, a mighty figure cultivated a profound skill where he split the volcano and froze the lava, forming the current state of the canyon. Although the volcano was gone today, under the layers of rock, magma still flowed beneath the ground, resulting in the extremely high temperature in the entire canyon. Even the tip of the cliffs were all burnt into a dark, red shade. There was barely a single soul near the giant rock canyon, as no one could live in high temperatures for long. Instead, many demonic beasts with fire natures were attracted to settle in there. Hunters came here occasionally, though the chances of winning were only 50%. While some returned fully loaded, some lost their lives there. In the giant rock canyon, it was not difficult to see some remains of those killed by demonic beasts scattered miserably between the rocks. Before entering the giant rock canyon, Gu Yanqiu made everyone take a short break. Later, we will enter the giant rock canyon directly. The temperature in the canyon is extremely high. Once we enter the canyon, everyone should direct your energy on your own and isolate the heat from your body. This hunting mission can continue for a maximum of only 3 days. If we exceed the time, the flame toxin in the giant rock canyon's air will injure us. Thus, we must find the giant lizard's lair and kill it in the shortest time possible. Chapter 160. Everyone nodded. Qin Huan found it a little strange though. When Gu Yanqiu was giving instructions, Qin Huan's gaze uncontrollably fell on Yi Qingtang, who patted her chest with a hand. Under his outerwear, Qin Huan was wearing the fire-resistant soft armor that Yi Qingtang gave him before. This vest was light, and one could not tell what material was it made of. Previously, Qin Huan kept it instead of wearing it, and it was Yi Qingtang who ordered him to change into it when they were taking a rest before they headed to the giant rock canyon. Qin Huan did not think too much about it initially, but he felt that something was a little off now. He took a look at Gu Yanqiu and the rest, whose faces were tinted red from the heat as they neared the giant rock canyon. In contrast, he did not feel hot at all, and his body felt cozy as though the heat was isolated away by this thin vest. Only his four limbs could feel a little heat, but his vital organs were well protected by the soft armor. What exactly was this soft armor that little junior sister gave him? Qin Huan could not understand at the moment, but he remembered her favor. Most of the giant lizards stay in groups. Our target this time is the biggest level 6 giant lizard. If we encounter other giant lizards, we just need to direct them away. Then, Gu Yanqiu looked towards Qin Huan and said, Qin Huan, you are quick enough. If we encounter a group of them, you will bring 2 other people to direct other giant lizards away. Meng Sheng and I will think of a way to attract the target to an open space. Oh, okay, I got it, Qin Huan replied hurriedly as he returned to his senses. Junior sister Yi, you'll follow me tightly at that time. Gu Yanqiu turned to Yi Qingtang and said. Although he had seen Yi Qingtang's capabilities before, he did not dare to just allow Yi Qingtang to act on her own. Senior brother Gu, I'm afraid this is not suitable, Meng Sheng suddenly said after remaining silent throughout. Why? Gu Yanqiu asked. Meng Sheng replied, we are dealing with a level 6 giant lizard. Putting everything else aside, even you and I need to be very cautious. Moreover, this giant lizard's poison is extremely deadly. Out of the 10 of us, only you, Qin Huan, and I have the appropriate skills. Qin Huan has already gone to attract the attention of other giant lizards. It is inappropriate if you split your focus on taking care of others. Then, Meng Sheng's gaze fell on Yi Qingtang. Since we came on a mission together, where would there be any protection or not? Everyone must work together and put in their utmost best to hunt the demonic beast. If junior sister Yi Stills needs someone to protect her, why is she needed on this mission? She will just be a burden instead. While Meng Sheng's words were ugly, it reflected the thoughts of other disciples present. It was already the limit for 10 people to deal with a level 6 demonic beast. If there was one less person's effort and another top-skilled teammate had to split his attention to protect the person, the hunt might not be a success. Gu Yanqiu returned to his senses and was aware of this problem as well. When he was about to say something, Yi Qingtang suddenly said, Senior brother Gu, why not let senior brother Qin go with you all? Leave the mission of attracting the other giant lizards to me. With that said, Gu Yanqiu was stunned. Giant lizards lived in groups, and no one knew how many other giant lizards would be around their target. Gu Yanqiu made Qin Huan in charge of the job because Qin Huan was pretty skilled. If it were anyone else, it would be unsuitable as they would be attacked by the giant lizard's venom as long as they were a little careless. Junior sister Yi, Gu Yanqiu felt that it was unsuitable, but Meng Sheng spoke one step ahead of him. Since junior sister Yi wants to try, let her try then. It is also a chance to verify whether she has the qualifications to participate in this mission, isn't it? Chapter 161. Gu Yanqiu initially thought it was unsuitable, but he could not say anything after Meng Sheng's words. As the initiator of the mission, he could not be biased. If he was suspected of protecting Yi Qingtang in the battle, then Yi Qingtang would really be like what Meng Sheng said. Not only could she not help, she would become the burden of the entire team. Hesitating, Gu Yanqiu looked at Yi Qingtang and asked, Junior sister Yi, are you sure? Yes. Yi Qingtang smiled. Gu Yanqiu had no choice and could only change Qin Huan's position and place Yi Qingtang along with 2 other disciples in charge of directing the other giant lizards away. Confirming the plan, the team immediately entered the giant rock canyon. Once they entered, everyone began directing their energy to isolate the heat. Between the crimson stones, one could faintly see that bones were scattered everywhere, and small beasts passed by their eyes from time to time. Under the high temperature and the intense heat waves, it was still impossible to completely isolate the heat from their body even with the circulating energy in them. Everyone was already soaked in sweat after just a while. Only Yi Qingtang and Qin Huan were fine as before. While their faces were a little red, They did not break out in sweat. In the giant rock canyon, there were demonic beasts other than the giant lizard hidden. Everyone's footsteps were light in order to reduce the sound of their movement to the lowest possible. According to the map given, they slowly neared the lair of the giant lizard. The giant lizard's lair was a cave made from a messy mound of rocks. Tiny corpse fragments and some decomposed flesh could be faintly seen above the surrounding crushed rocks. "It should be here," said Gu Yanqiu as he narrowed his eyes while checking the decomposed flesh and crushed bones with tooth marks on the ground. A pungent rotting odor traveled out from the cave. Gu Yanqiu gave a hand sign, instructing everyone to go to their respective places. He stood outside the cave and threw in a lighted matchstick that he prepared long ago into the lair. The glowing matchstick flew into the pitch-black lair. When it flew past, one could see bones and decomposing carcasses strewn all over the place. The rotting flesh was being roasted by the hot rocks, releasing a pungent odor. A crisp sound traveled out from the cave. Everyone held their breaths and focused. In the next second, swishing sounds could be heard. "Retreat!" Gu Yanqiu ordered sternly and immediately pulled a distance. The moment he retreated, a dense black shadow suddenly swarmed out from the cave. Suddenly, dozens of giant lizards of varying sizes gushed out from the cave at once. The smallest one amongst them was about the size of a wolf, while larger ones were that of an old bull. Every giant lizard had a thick and heavy armor on them, and while they had short limbs, their speed was abnormally fast on these rocks. So many of them, everyone was shocked upon seeing the number of giant lizards. The group of them, which originally thought there were only around 10 giant lizards in the lair, had an ugly expression at that moment. Before they could take the next move, the ground beneath them suddenly trembled. An enormous figure slowly came out of the lair. It was a giant lizard of unparalleled size. Standing at almost 4 to 5 meters tall, its huge and bloody mouth was half open. Between the rows of sharp teeth, its split tongue drooped halfway down. As it breathed out, everyone's faces were greeted with an awfully pungent odor. Chapter 162. The Level 6 Giant Lizard was a high-level demonic beast, and its ferocity induced fear. Surrounding that huge frame were dozens of giant lizards of varied sizes clustered together. Looking across, it was like a patch of rugged yellowish-gray rocks gathered together. Target locked. Find a suitable place to direct the small giant lizards away immediately. Gu Yanqiu fixed his eyes on the mission's target and immediately gave an order for everyone to get into action. When he finished his sentence, he instinctively looked at Yi Qingtang and was very worried that she could not react in time since it was her first mission. Moreover, there were too many small giant lizards that had to be directed away, and there would be some difficulty with just only 3 people. However, just when Gu Yanqiu turned to look at Yi Qingtang, he suddenly realized that the moment he spoke, Yi Qingtang had already sprinted from her hiding place to stand above a huge rock. Her sleeves were rolled up, revealing a hidden blade in them. Almost around the time when Gu Yanqiu looked at her, Yi Qingtang suddenly shot out a few arrows from her hidden blade successively, and every arrow landed on the most fatal points of the small giant lizards. That hidden blade was a secret weapon she used in her previous life, and she specially made it before she left Lin Town. It was small and very convenient when armed on her arms and hidden in her sleeves. The sudden attack caused the harassed giant lizards to growl in fury and look towards the direction of the attacker, where they saw Yi Qingtang standing at a very obvious position. Pissed. The level 6 giant lizard let out an angry growl, and the entire ground trembled. What is Yi Qingtang doing? Meng Sheng looked in shock at Yi Qingtang, who suddenly jumped out. She is attracting the small giant lizard's attention? Another disciple who was hiding with Meng Sheng was shocked. Meng Sheng's face darkened. Is she crazy? Why is she standing at that kind of position to attract the giant lizard's attention? Does she think she can run faster than the giant lizards? I think she just wants to seek death. This is the good junior sister that Gu Yanqiu found? I think she is simply tired of living. Yi Qingtang's action indeed caught everyone off guard. Gu Yanqiu was shocked and mentally noted that things were going bad. The number of giant lizards was already beyond their expectation, and this would only multiply the burden of those in charge of attracting the giant lizard's attention. The other 2 disciples in charge of directing the small giant lizards away had not even got to action, and Yi Qingtang actually rushed out alone. This was simply seeking death. Quick, the both of you go up immediately to distract them, Gu Yanxiu anxiously instructed the other 2 disciples. But the timing was ultimately a little too late. All the giant lizard's attention was focused on Yi Qingtang. With an angry growl from the level 6 giant lizard, the small beasts immediately sprinted towards the rock that Yi Qingtang was standing on. The army of giant lizards was like a huge wave, paralyzing onlookers. Qin Huan and the rest who were in hiding were burning with anxiety. But just when everyone was breaking out in cold sweat for Yi Qingtang, she took a clear look at the direction the giant lizards were moving in and directly leaped onto another piece of rock that was a few meters away. When her heels touched the ground, she shot out a few more arrows which landed in the army of giant lizards and killed a few small-sized ones straight away. This move utterly angered the other giant lizards, and they sped up crazily, dashing towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was not in a hurry. As she focused on the giant lizard's movements, she searched for locations in her surrounding that she could relocate to from the corner of her eyes at the same time. With a few jumps, she single-handedly led the army of giant lizards out of the cave's entrance. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.